and ever-changing views, and computer terminology. Commodore reviews. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you.
Hello, and welcome to episode 97 of Zapped to the Past. I am Adrian Mills, and I'm joined, as always, by Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. Last week, we looked at our first batch of games from issue 40 of Zap 64, which we are in no way affiliated with, and were bored by Barbarian 2, divided by Desolator, and horrified by a drumstick in Hercules, Slayer of the Damned. This week, we continue our look at the games in August 1988, along with what albums were released that month. Graham, as you are the man in the know, tell us of the great things ahead.
In this box of chocolates Valentine's gift with all the nice ones already eaten of an episode, we grab our war underpants and follow the winking eye as we run and gather up a bunch of puzzle pieces in the lavishly produced world of Hawkeye. Grab a whip, slip into a mankini, and scoot away the clinkers with impudence in the troubled Vixen, also known as the potentially less offensive She-Wolf. Grab a supermarket trolley and mope around the dreary mind of a shelf-stacking obsessed child in the even more troubled Super Trolley, and bring some order back to the chaos as we blast through the blistering speed levels of the badly named shoot-'em-up Poltergeist. Does the caramel keg ever get eaten first from a box of milk tray? Who knows? We also grab our halos and habits as we fight our way across another dreary Ghost and Goblins clone, this time in the awkward to hell and back. We recoil at the blocky mass of pixels that someone tried to pass off as a fighting game in the utterly horrible UK version of Street Fighter, head on a quest to invade the dreams of three other assmen that are being attacked by chicken-beaked Oculus snakes in the Aldi Inception world of Dream Warrior, shield our ears and explore the dreary, colourless world of an Apple Mac depot with the Slodathon Dark Castle, before finally grabbing our skis, skates, luges, and best sequin dresses as we head for some icy sports shenanigans in the disappointing Games Winter Edition. The pickings of games are getting pretty slim here, and why have so many required me to fight in my underpants? I may be oversharing. Are you in the know?
Are you in the know?
Now you are in the know.
You are in the know. Hi. Interesting aside, by the way, someone posted or replied to one of our posts on Facebook saying that we had put the Sons and Daughters music in their head from the other week.
Well, yes, I can imagine it. I'm not going to say it because I can already hear it turning in my head right now.
Yeah, exactly. Sons and daughters. If you listen to it again, Craig, sons and daughters.
Sons and daughters, love and laughter.
But also, as well, my partner did mention, did we remember the Sullivans?
No.
I don't think we did mention it. And isn't that the granddaddy of them all?
Nor do I even remember the Sullivans. What was that? How did that go? Sullivan's End, the Sullivan's End.
It was an Australian soap opera drama series that would predate Sons and Daughters and all that lot.
Well, no, I don't remember that at all, but well remembered. Deep Pull remembered that. Good,
it's an Australian period drama television series produced by Crawford, rather than that, from 15th of November 1976 until March 1983. I don't know when we got it.
Produced by Crawfish. That's clever.
Crawford Productions.
Oh,
I was just quickly reading from the... it covers the period of basically the First World War. No, Second World War. My mind's all over the place today.
It's quite a
very
difference
busy day.
there.
I've had, one's great, one's not.
Yeah. The Australians were involved in all of them.
They
in
were.
a good way. No, it sounds awful when you say it like that, in a good way.
Yeah, they were.
Allies.
But the Sullivans was predates Sons and Daughters and all that lot. So
I remember something of the name of it, but I don't remember anything else, and I don't know why, and I don't remember the theme, that's for sure.
No, I don't either. But I just thought I'd throw that in there as in case anyone remembers that theme or anything. But
do you remember the Sullivans?
I would also just like to throw a big shout out to one Ben Granville. I forgot to do this over the last week. I'm going to bring COVID brain, who donated a large amount of cash to our Patreon over Christmas, and it was very, very nice of him. And I've just completely forgot to remember, and now you can't forget to remember. Didn't remember.
Sake. What's happened?
I don't know.
It's like you've been attacked by someone with a brain rubber.
I've had a proper brain wrong today. It's been one of those days. I had a plan for today. It got scuppered at about 9 o'clock and it never recovered.
One of those days.
It has been one of those days. So, so thank you, Ben. That was very good. Very kind of you.
Thank you, Ben. Very, very kind of you. Thank you
Indeed.
so much. Every bit helps. It's amazing. Thank you.
It does. If you want to sign up to our Patreon, I'll say it here. You can do that by going to patreon.com/Zapped to the Past, where for the price of a pint of beer, or roughly equivalent, not in some countries though, it's way cheaper than a pint of beer in some countries.
It is.
You can sign up and get early access to the episodes, ad-free. You can get to ask us questions. You can join the Discord and any bonus episodes we throw out and mention on our shout-out each month. So yeah, that's all good. You can do all that if you want, so go do that. The Discord's really cool at the minute. We're posting loads of really crap loading screams.
It's always been cool.
It has, but the loading screens are particularly making me laugh. That bongo one.
Oh, that's a game we even mentioned in passing, wasn't it, many moons ago during the crapverts?
Was it?
Yeah, we mentioned bongo. Yeah, we didn't look at the review. No, it was in a list of other games. It was on one of those multi-game adverts, and one of them was bongo.
Right. Yeah, it must have been
bongo. Yeah, because I remember we talked a little bit about it. God knows what episode that was. Could have been one of the very early episodes.
It must have been way back, but yeah, it was god awful. But there you go. So yeah, so you can do that if you want. All that out of the way. Should we get into some games? Got a lot of games to cover today.
I think it's time. Yes, it's time. 9. Yes.
9, mine Fräulein. Okay, let's get into these. Let's get into our first one. Graham, the duty is over to you. Can you tell us what it's like to have a Hawkeye?
I imagine it's pretty... my voice has gone completely weird. That was weird.
In your hand. What's it like to have a Hawkeye? Be a bit wet and moist, I think.
It's very grippy. So this is Hawkeye. Exciting, isn't it? $9.99 this was. 96%. Gold medal. And this is not from Rainbird. This is from Thalamus. With the great... I've always liked the Thalamus logo, actually. That kind of, that face. It's cool. Anyway, this was produced or made by the Boys Without Brains. I doubt that that's actually true, because this has got some pretty clever coding in it, so they must have some kind of brains. Mario Van Zeist, good name. I didn't find that he'd made anything else prior or after this.
He made one other game in 1992 that I could find.
The graphics are by Jacco Van Riet, who later went on to do Flimbo's Quest, and Arthur Van Jolet, who later went on to do Last Ninja 3. The graphics in that, which is pretty cool.
Is he named after a small coat?
It could be. The title screen was by Robin Levy, depends how you say that, doesn't it? And music is by Jeroen Tell. That guy, the guy.
That's Mr. Tell to you and I.
That is Mr. Tell. Okay. Prepare yourself for some instructions stuff. A little bit to go through here. Just as the very first thing I noticed, by the way, it says on the copyright sign for this, unauthorized copying, hiring, lending, eating. I don't know anyone would do that, but eating, yeah, it says that in the copyright warning. You can look that up. It's on the instructions. Anyway, the power is there. Zamox, a planet on the edge of the Milky Way, is home to an almost perfect civilization, but a race of nomads concerned with galactic pirate security. The Skyrkisses, the Skyrkisses, the Skyrkisses. How would you even say that? Skryk. How would you pronounce that? Skrixes. Let's call them the Skrixies. I'll call them that.
It's the Skrixies, yeah.
The Skrixies found the Zamosians too perfect. You're too perfect. We don't like it. In the time of Neyron, the Skrixies In the time of Neyron, the Skrixies forces invaded Zamox, viciously massacring its perfect race and making a base on Zamox, constructing radiation plants. Now, they're difficult to keep. A bit of water, maybe, but, just grow ordinary plants. Far easier. A few Zamoxians, honestly, it's one of those days, survived the massacre and went into hiding in underground chambers, vowing to seek revenge against the Skrixis. Working for generations, the survivors developed a synthetic life form, the SLF, synthetic life form, to you and me, half robot, half human. Which half is robot, which half is human, does have a bearing on things, doesn't it, that? But let's not go into that right now.
Well, C-3PO from last week would be, he'd like to know.
He would like to know, he'd like to be probed. Half robot, half human, specially designed, this is specially built. It's specially built. It's a real good, it's a winner, beaut. It's specially built.
Don't write words, though.
You can't have everything. It's specially designed to break through the heavily guarded sectors leading to the radiation plants. Now, the SLF is completed, but the controlling processes are not considered fast enough to let it enter into combat with the enemy environment on its own. However, its mind is in synchronization with the movements of the Zamorian battling droid, which remote controls the SLF. Are we following?
No.
No, don't worry about that. The SLF is Hawkeye. That's all you need to worry about. The SLF is Hawkeye, and now is the testing time as Hawkeye is released into the savage wilderness of New Zamox. The power is there.
What's that mean?
I don't know. It says it twice, more in big letters and in small letters, and I still don't quite get it. So the aim of Hawkeye is to collect all the puzzle pieces scattered about each of the 12 levels. The eye of either Hawk head on the left or right of the screen winks in the direction of the next piece to be collected. I don't like it when eyes wink at me. Hey, over here, mate. Over here. Hey,
this way.
Over here, mate. Wait. Hey. When all the pieces are collected, a jingle sounds and Hawkeye should be maneuvered to the far right. Careful of the level to complete it. There are 4 deadly weapons to choose from.
I was
going to say, it's the far right. Yeah, he starts investing lots of millions of pounds offshore. There are 4 deadly weapons to choose from, all displayed in the window to the left of the display panel. There are 2 ways to select weapons. Hold down fire until the icon glows, and then move left or right to select the armament you want. That's the stupid way. Or select the required weapon by depressing the function keys. Now, this is a bit odd because it says in the instructions, pistol is F1, machine gun is F2. On a Commodore, it'd be F3, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's F1, 3, 4, 5, and 7, yeah.
Yeah, that's all wrong. Stupid wrongness.
Mm-hmm.
The pistol is the first weapon option, but has unlimited ammunition, but inflicts little damage on the larger monsters. Little damage. All the weapons are increasingly more powerful, but have limited ammunition. The level of ammo is displayed as a bar underneath the selected weapon item. So, without going into much more of the controls and the instructions, because it just really explains how the game moves, and I can talk about the game in a bit more detail. There is some interesting credits on the help from this, on the back of the box, as it were, because it says Oliver Frey and David Weston were thanked in this, but I suppose they're all part of Thalamus, which is kind of part of, was it Future Publishing? They were all sort of happy family friends, or Newsfield, or all of those. Yeah, I know. They're all big mates at the end of the day. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so a demo group then with a relatively small set of early releases on, and they're on CSDB. You can look them up. There's not many there though. I thought there'd be a lot more. I don't know why. I always thought Boys Without Brains were a big demo group, but it turns out that they didn't do that many demos. At least not that many are available. Maybe they did more, I don't know. And they arrived with something of a graphic, at least, showcase the all-powerful Hawkeye from Thalamus. So this is a platform run and jump. You control Hawkeye with your joystick. Fire shoots, holding fire, and as I said before, pushing left changes the weapons, as does the function keys. Not really, but okay, they do. At the top of the screen is your UI with your Hawk graphics to the left and right of the screen. Yes! When the Hawkeye glows, that means you need to belt off in that direction on the hunt for one of the 4 puzzle pieces on each level, of which there are 12. As I've said, they are the start, Waterfalls, the Moon, Blue Monday. But not there to the old
New Order
there, yeah. The Forest, there's a secret level in the middle of all that. Gold Rush, the Temple, the City, Water Pipes, the Castle, Home Planet, and Victory. As you peg it around the different levels and platforms, jumping about, you hold the joystick in a specific angle on this game for sort of longer jumps. I'm not sure if I like that or not. I don't know. I don't know if I like the fire button to jump, and I don't know. You will encounter a whole collection of oddball enemies. Do you like the enemies in this game, Adrian? Because there's a lot of them.
There are a lot of them.
From Wings, which are winged demon things, not the band. Stranglers, again, not the band, just to be clear. Bats,
New Order,
the Crusher.
Stranglers, Wings.
I know.
The who's who of 80s pop.
I haven't finished yet. There's an axe-wielding goblin thing called the Crusher. There's a snake-like fire-breathing thing called Stalkers. There's leap and rolls, which just leap and roll. Strange that I didn't think much more about that one.
The leapy rollers. the offshoot of the Bay City rollers.
No, they could have been the Bay City Rollers, couldn't they? With other band names in here. They've got larger, they're called stampedes, but they're actually rhinos or dinosaurs, one of those. Claws are T-Rex. Hey, there you go. A giant gorilla. Oh, did I imagine that?
No, there is a giant gorilla. There's a screenshot of it.
I don't see a whole bunch more than that. There's actually little monsters sort of showcase on the disc for this. I don't know if it's actually a real thing or it's put together by a demo company or whatever. But there's not all of the enemies are in it anyway, so that's just a list of the ones that were in that. So all of these appear in different ways to impede and thwart your progress. Touch them and your energy will drain. Touch them too much and you'll lose a life. The environment is also replete with pitfalls and holes, etc. Falling there and it's death. Apart from that, you need to run, pick up and run some more and just run around a lot. You run a lot in this game. It's always running.
Always running.
Like I said before, you've got 4 weapons. Only one of them has unlimited ammo. And there are ammo crates and energy packs dotted about which you can pick up. They're indicated in the same way as the puzzle pieces, or at least they appear while you're running about. So the eye was flashing, I was following the Hawk's eye, and then I'd come across energies and extra ammo. So you don't get a lot of ammo in some of these weapons anyway, we'll come back to that. Once you get all the 4 puzzle pieces for that level, you run to the right, and then you'll get your mini bonus collection animation. Your SLF droid, your Hawkeye bot, whatever the hell you are, gets a recharge, and your energy is refueled, and your score is admonished with your kills and stuff like that. Then it's on to the next level, and do it all again in the infamous diddle-ding-ding-ding-ding, do it again, diddle-ding-ding-ding-ding, do it again, with more challenging enemies and more complex arrangements of platforms, etc. And so it goes on. It's like different colour schemes and things. Mm-hmm. The tape loader for this, and it is on the disc as a separate load, features a very cool Hawkeye Mixie load, which is a kind of akin to the Rob Hubbard Mixie load, which was done for Delta. Quite a nice mini-tune sequencer of sorts. Charles Deenan did the music for that, who was also part of the Maniacs of Noise, I believe. And I thought it's actually pretty damn cool. Sort of thing you'd like to mess about with and just to do some cool stuff, a bit like the Hubbard one. Quite an interesting little thing with a really nice background graphics, that Hawkeye image. Pretty cool, that. In fact, you can't really fault the production of this game. There's also a Hawkeye story feature, which is also a separate load. It must have been a separate load on the tape as well, I guess. Here you can get a whole detailed story told straight from the mouth of an alien, which I thought looked like a talking OAP light bulb. It takes ages for the difficult-to-read text to appear on that, though, and there was no sound, which seemed really odd in a game that's got such amazing music and sound. So I guess if you want to read the story, you can. I found it tedious to the point where I was like, oh, I can't be bothered to wait for that. It's just one of those things that appear sort of word by word and like, move quicker. I read quicker than that.
Zamox.
It's just, it's just Zamox. Zamo. Is he part of the Zamox? Zamo. Just say no, Zamox. The graphics as the game starts are good. And there is a fabulous soundtrack that thumps along from Jerome Tell. It's really good. It's one of the incredibly high standard and fondly remembered Sid compositions from Mr. Tell, that is. Really good stuff. The main title has a nice logo effect for the game. The main character stood on the logo and some controls for audio, etc. Nice credits and storyboard. It has demo team written all over this game, without a doubt. It's like slaps in your face. Fire starts the game and a speedy jingle intro leads into the levels. Graphics era in the levels are well drawn. The UI at the top quarter-ish of the screen shows your score, lives, all 3 of them, energy, power meter, current weapon and ammo, and of course, the 2 hawk heads with their glowing eye. All in the nice kind of shaded colour scheme that changes per level. I think it looks quite nice. Under that is the scrolling area of the game. There are some nice varied details there. It's well realised, leveraging the colour palette of the 64 as best it can in ways. Things are well shaded, at least, and on a CRT, I think it probably must have looked quite nice. There is a nice new little detail on the all-new amazing Lemon 64 site where you can actually look at stills of the game and add the scan lines to them with a little click of a switch. It's quite nice. It sort of gives you an idea of what it might have looked like on a CRT. Your main Hawkeye sprite is quite well realised and animated, a bit squat in a weird kind of way. Got sort of little legs, big body kind of syndrome, but it is well animated. His run cycle and his run animations are all pretty good. It does get a little bit lost in the background, though, sometimes, I think. Not in a small way. It's still big enough to be seen, but the background's quite busy and quite colour-enriched, and you're of the same colour on some of the levels, so you kind of sort of blend a little bit. But things do move around in the game at quite a pace, and there's enemies all over the place, and they've got different colours. Some of those enemies do sometimes blend in as well a little bit. So I think there's a bit of a problem with that. They're not all brilliantly drawn, though. Some of them have got quite nice detail and you can see what it is. Others just look kind of amorphously blobby things with a pair of eyes and just sort of a weapon. But there's some nice parallax scrolling here. The detail in the backgrounds is good, which gives it a nice, strong sense of depth. And like I said, the production and the general look, feel, sound is all top-notch. But I think the puzzle pieces and extra weapons are sometimes a bit lost in the middle of all of that. It's easy to run past them. They do glow. But some of them they appear in odd locations, and because you're charging about and there's a lot of running about and stuff, it's even though the Hawk's eye are blinking at you hardly, you will come across them. It can get a bit of a melee, especially in the late levels. The levels aren't actually that big, though, so you're never going to get lost in there. There's just a lot of backwards and forwards and running and jumping around required, and you're going to die a lot in this game. A quick check of a long play showed this at around 45 minutes in total, so the difficulty is applied here with stuff getting in the way a lot. Which isn't, it's kind of the way they did it back then, I get it, but 45 minutes isn't a long time, is it, for 10 quid?
I have been thinking about that. You're not going to, I mean, if that's what it takes to do it with a perfect run, you're never going to do that on your first go, are you? So
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's got 45 minutes of endless play, like long play in it, but you're not going to do it like that. And you'd never do it in one go unless you've got a cheat on, I think, because that's now impossible. The multiple weapons that you do have don't seem to have much variety in what they do, if you ask me, with no clear delineation of their destructive power, and the icon representing them in the UI is really small and difficult to read. Plus, your ammo seems to run out really fast. And I don't know how upgraded you become with anything. So most of the enemies I managed with avoidance, where I could actually more than trying to shoot them out, because I either ran out of ammo or I just ended up with a pistol, which doesn't really kill them quick enough. So you just got to try and jump over them. Enemies do seem to come thick and fast with no discernible pattern as such. I found a lot of them just running on and dying. There seemed to be no logic to what they did. They just came on the screen. There wasn't really much, there wasn't any logic to what they did. They just appeared to get in the way. I don't think you would learn this game in the way that you might with other games of this kind of type, but more often than not, once you have all the puzzle pieces for the level, have to run to the right, there is a big old something in the way, a big dinosaur, a big something. You'll get a boss of sorts at the end of each level. They're just kind of in the way. And you just have to make sure you've got at least one of your other weapons to just blast it real quick. The in-between level part also has a nice bit of animation and music, but it's also unskippable, which could annoy over time when he just raises up and gets his head electrocuted and all that gets
It's a separate load as well, isn't it?
Yeah. It has the technical flow and bounce of demo code in here, and it's used to good effect visually and orally. The game design, though, is less ingenious and does become samey and somewhat tiresome. All the pizzazz aside, this is just a shoot 'em up with poor upgrades and repetitive gameplay and not much more to offer. I noted that CNVG hammered this game in their review. They gave it 3 out of 10, citing dullness. Gave it 3 out of 10, citing dullness and lack of originality. It's quite a scathing review. Zap were more effusive with the gold medal and all the brouhaha. All the tinfoil hat brigades will be spitting about the connection between Zap and Dalamus and all that, and the positive nature of their reviews and all the games and everything else. I think that's a tad unfair because most of their games have actually been pretty good. So it's not like they're crap games that they've just given a great, crazy review. They're pretty good. This got 96% though, so I don't know. That is quite high for what this is, but it is very visually compelling. There's no doubt about that. So there's a lot to like. I've always had a bit of a fondness for this game. I like the animations, I like the graphics, and the music is a huge part of what makes this game great, which is a good sign because it's been a while since we've had a game where the music's sort of really bolted a bit together as well. It does look really good for a C64 game. It looks like a really nicely produced thing. Solid production, no bugs that I could encounter. Lots of running and visual eye candy. There's a lot to like, but it's hiding an average game. There's no hiding that. It's playable, it's fast, and overall good to play. Gold medal? I'm not so sure about that part, though. About you?
It's the 5th game, isn't it, from Thalamus, their first gold medal.
Yeah, game number 5,
Our second gold medal this month that stars an underpanted man killing monsters.
It's all about the underpants.
It's all about the underpants this month. So, it's all about men in pants. I mean, I have noted, I suppose it is the summer, so maybe, it's August, so maybe they're a bit hot, so they're running around in their pants.
It's a robot, though, isn't he? Why did they design a robot that needed pants?
I did watch one of the long plays. Seems at the end he turns into a full human.
He does, yeah, when he gets through his sequence at the end and he gets made flesh.
So, this is just it's a Pinocchio allegory. That's what it is. He wants to be a real boy.
I get all that, but he's a robot. He hasn't, they don't even need to give him genitalia, let alone something to cover it up.
Well, it depends whether that's the part that's man.
Well, that's true.
We don't know. Don't know. Maybe that's why he's pulling that face on the cover. Anyway, as you said, you can't fault the presentation on this. Great visuals, title screen, music. Although the end, the piece of music that you use on the podcast doesn't fit in this game.
No, it's quite jolly, isn't it? I quite like it, though.
I like it as a little ditty. It doesn't fit in this game whatsoever at all, in the slightest. It's so off compared to the rest of the music. It's just way off.
Maybe.
Anyway, the rest is great. So, and it's nice. So, yeah, this is a real beaut, a real winner. I've actually written that, so it's weird that you said it earlier on. The use of in-game hints, like the flashing Hawkeyes, is a nice touch to tell you which way to go. But it does lead to a lot of toing and froing and toing and froing and toing and froing.
Doesn't it just?
As you bounce back and forth back and forth along the levels. The levels being quite short, I can see why they've done this. I guess, it's a little bit like, there's a bit of Defender, I guess, in the DNA here, isn't there? The back and forth, trying to, loop, whatever. I did like shooting stuff. I found the jump a little unresponsive at times. I don't know whether it was me, but it just seemed not to jump when I was trying to, it'd fall off platforms. Just jump.
There's a few people that have noted that it has a weird jump.
Yeah, it has. I also wonder if the trick of giving you everything at the start was the right thing to do, as the game does tend to feel a little one note, is what I've noted here, which is similar to what you've said.
Yeah.
Having the 4 weapons from the start means there's very little space for the gameplay to go anywhere, and perhaps spreading them out over the course of the game to make you feel like you're getting more powerful would have been the better option.
Yeah, power-ups. They could that's why I said they don't feel like they power up anything.
No, they don't. You just get ammo. But if they just started with the pistol, then maybe at level 3 you got the machine gun, and level 5 you got the shotgun, and then level 7 or 8 you got the thingy blast, the rocket launcher. You'd have felt like progression. And you'd have felt like you'd have getting more powerful. They could have upped the ante with the monsters, and you'd have felt like the game was going somewhere. As it is, like I know you have to manage ammo, but I never feel any stronger from level to level. It's just the same.
No,
it's the same with the level of challenge as well. I found it's always find the 4 bits of the code to progress. So it does tend to feel quite samey after a while. It just feels like I'm doing the same thing, just in different graphics, background graphics, with some different sprites to shoot at. And that's it.
True.
I think gold medal's a little too far for this. I don't think this is a gold medal. It's a sizzler for me. I would have put this around about 90%.
Yeah, sizzler.
You know, I'm not knocking it down much, but it's not a gold medal. It lacks that sense of progression and player power to get beyond its simple gameplay hook. Because it's just nothing more. It's a bit, it's Green Beret-ish as well. There's elements of Green Beret and the sort of platforms and the stabbing and you get things. But that's 4 levels. This is 12. And after about 4, I was like, is anything else going to happen? And no, not really. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's an enjoyable game. I just feel you've seen almost everything it has to offer after the first couple of levels, apart from visuals, different graphics. So for me, I'd have liked some progression as you go along. And I think other games do that. Well, whether it's in challenge, whether it's in how much you've got to do or whatever, I just think at this point in the C64's life to get a gold medal, we should be seeing a bit more sort of difficult, gameplay curve, sort of flow, your state of flow. This is one note all the way through. It's fast, frantic, and you shoot stuff. And that's it. And if that floats your boat, you're going to really enjoy this. But there's nothing really to actually do beyond that. It's very pretty and it sounds very good and everything like that. But nah, it's a classic sizzler. This it's a classic 90%er. It has all the elements there, but it just doesn't have the bit to rise above that. I think it's better than Barbarian though. Barbarian 2, sorry.
Yeah, it is.
So of the fight of the underpants, this wins.
There's more underpants to come as well.
There are more underpants to come. But Hawkeye, 9.99, 96. Yeah, it's not that. It's not 3 out of 10, though. I don't know what CMVG was smoking.
Yeah, they give it a right pasting. The review's pretty harsh.
That sounds like a bit of bitterness.
Well, it's funny you say that, because they even say at the end of that review, well, they're all part of, they make a point of saying that Thalamus is part of the same publishing house for Zapped.
Newsfield,
putting that in it, yeah.
It seems like the average sort of thing. I mean, the average on Lemon is about just under 8. Most reviews giving it about 80% as well.
Yeah, you can't fault it. I mean, if you line up a few C64 games, it stands out head and shoulders because it looks so great and sounds so good. I mean, no arguing with that. No arguing with that at all.
Yeah. There we go. That's Hawkeye, the second of our gold medals, and the second of which we think did not deserve it.
But it is good, though. Go play it.
It is good, yeah. Let's move on to our next one. More running and jumping about. But this time, it's not a man, it's a woman. Vixen. Vixen, Graham. Full price, $9.99. So this is Vixen. Last week, we had Nick Jones's version of Ghost and Goblins in Beyond the Ice Palace. And now we have Nick Jones's version of Rygar in the form of Vixen. It's just Rygar, isn't it? It's Rygar. Anyway, once again, 80s marketeers have stepped in and figured the best way to sell the game to young boys was to slap a page 3 model on the cover. And so, as we had in Barbarian 1 and 2 with Maria Whittaker, here we have Corinne Russell adorning the adverts and front cover as the titular Vixen. So she stood there with a whip, in a sort of bikini of some description. What's she wearing?
Scantily clad.
Leopard skin bikini, isn't she? I mean, yeah, it is what it is.
Yep.
In some kind of jungle. Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the jungle. Don't understand that tagline.
Stupid. Stupid.
Did I ever think it was safe to go back in the jungle? The jungle's full of horrible creatures. I've never thought it was safe in the jungle.
Why? Why do they do these things? Why?
Oddly as well, according to the C64 wiki, although I actually put this in and tried to translate it and it didn't come back the same thing, they had to change the name in Germany because supposedly Vixen is the word used for masturbation. I think it's pronounced differently, or Fuchsen or something like that.
Vixer, isn't it?
Yeah, so anyway, this was changed to She-Fox over there.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Anyway, all this titillation aside, this was released by Martech. Martech had coding, as I said, by Nick Jones, graphic by Mark Eason and Malcolm Smith, and music by Jazz Brook. Is he becoming like the most prolific musician we never knew about? And he's done loads.
It's prolific. Yeah, it's not all great.
It's just Jazz Brook. He woke up and did another tune. All right, Cheers, Jazz. This was originally by Intelligent Design. I'm guessing this is probably a port from the Spectrum original because that seems to be what Nick Jones does a lot of. He does a lot of sports. So
I think it has to be.
So I think this is a port from the Spectrum original. The story, such as it is, concerns the world of Granath. What is it with these names? Granath. It's now ruled by a race of evil mutant dinosaurs. It's like an alternative Earth where the meteors never hit. So I don't know how mankind ever came. Anyway, doesn't matter. Vixen, our heroine, has been raised by foxes. and has had magic powers bestowed upon her by the fox sages.
Not a jungle animal, just saying.
It's not a jungle animal. Foxes, no, not really.
They don't live in the jungle.
No, they don't.
Most jungle foxes.
Loads of them live around my house. There's loads of foxes around here.
The urban jungle, maybe.
Urban jungle, yeah. This has given her the ability to transform into a fox herself, and so, wielding her trusty whip, she is set off to destroy the dinosaur lords and bring about the age of the foxes. I added that last bit.
Or the rabbits have just shit themselves.
But what else? But I imagine that is what would happen should you prevail. The foxes are going to take over. It'd be the age of the foxes. Or whatever.
The age of the fox. They can't even operate cranes.
They don't have thumbs. Anyway. When the game loads, you can play with joystick or keyboard, and as a rather average piece of music is played, whilst the jolly Vixen logo bounces back and forth. It's all right as title screens go. It's okay. Nothing special, but it's all right. So in the game, the Spectrum come C64-esque style that we've seen from a lot of Nick Jones's games is readily apparent. Vixen herself is clad in just a bikini, but she's a tall and well-animated, multicoloured, high-res sprite. I'll give it that. That main sprite is very good. In this game, it's pretty decent. The backgrounds, though, they're a mix of high-res single colour and Commodore brown, which is an odd combo. There's a weird mix of styles in here, and the enemies are all vague single colour sprites. They're supposed to be dinosaurs, but none of them look good. It's just, it doesn't look ugly so much, just mismatched, as these games often do. I think we said it about a lot of these games where, so in that respect, it reminded me a little bit of Antiriad. Sort of that
Get out of town.
That mix of blockiness and single colour sprites is what I mean. But they also use those sort of single colour high res backgrounds as well for some elements of it. It's a weird mix. I thought the main sprite though is better than the one in Antiriad. So there you go. Anyway, the controls are pretty simple. You run along and you press fire to crack your whip. That's it. You can jump with diagonals as you could in Hawkeye, and you can scoot along the floor like a dog trying to dislodge a particularly nasty clagnut with the down diagonals. It's a very odd animation, that is.
It's not one. It's always a tribute to a woman that was been raised by foxes, but you can sort of figure out when you think that.
Absolutely,
maybe,
yeah. That's what I was going to say. But she has been raised by foxes, so that's probably how she wiped her ass.
She can transform into one. Why don't you just do that and then do that?
I don't know. Maybe that takes. Well, you've got to get your fox head all the way across the bar at the top to do that.
True.
You can't do that every time you're needing a shit. You can also crack your whip as you are doing this and when you are jumping. So you can crack your whip at all heights. Along the levels are holes that you've got to jump over. And there are some large brown balls as well, just some hanging from trees, some on poles, all over the place. Whipping these reveals a fox's head. Fox's head. Collecting these increases the fox bar that is in the UI at the top of the screen, which also includes your number of lives. You get 10 this time. Again, we got 9 last time. It was 10 this time, showing where the difficulty level of this lies. You get the score and the time left to complete the level, along with, I guess, some well-drawn pterodactyls. There's just a couple of pterodactyls up there, just in the UI. Just cost, fill some space up. There are also these things, they've just got the letter V on them. There's like these V jars. I don't know what else to describe them as, to whip as well. And these reveal various goodies to collect, such as gems for points, extra lives, smart bombs, and extra time. The levels are basically a run to the right and jump and whip all the enemies until you reach the sanctuary of a cave. So imagine Rygar. It's Rygar. This is, I'm going to say Rygar again. It's essentially the same, except you've got a whip.
Yeah.
So that's it. Here, once you get to the cave, you scoot in on your ass. Your time left is converted into bonus score, and if you've filled up the fox bar, Vixen transforms into an actual fox. It says this in the instructions. Why don't these instructions say Vixen? You transform into a Vixen. It's a female fox, a she-fox. It's right there in the title. She's called Vixen. She transforms into a Vixen. Maybe that would be confusing. I don't know. She gets to run around some bonus levels underground where you can collect mega gems and get the Mega Whip, which human Vixen can then use to kill any enemies with one hit. 'Cause as you progress, some enemies require a couple of whip hits to kill them. That's about it. Each level is very short, and the enemies are annoying. They're all smaller than you. They're all smaller than you. So when you're running and whipping, you're just whipping over their heads. So you have to spend 90% of the time in the crouched ass wiping position to kill them all. So just stupid. Why not make the enemies bigger or make you smaller? I don't get it. Or whip downwards. I just don't understand. This renders the game, it's just not as enjoyable as it's based on. Rygar. In that, you just ran. Here, you're scooting along, scooting along on your ass, and should the enemies get too close, even though you whip them, they won't die. Your whip will just go through them, and you lose one of your 10 lives in a very overdramatic way. She has a very overdramatic death as well, doesn't she? She's from the Rastan school of deaths, which I appreciate. I always appreciate a good overdramatic death.
Yeah, very dramatic.
So it's very dramatic. The levels themselves don't vary that much. It's very, very rote, this. Very. There's just some different things to jump over and a constant spew of enemies, and it just gets really boring really quickly. There's some nice touches. The animation on the main character, aside from dragging her ass along the floor, and particularly on the actual fox, when you turn into the fox, it's excellent. That animation's really good on that fox running. Really nice. It reminded me of the cat on the tiles, I think it was.
Yeah.
So some nice animation in that. Once again, with some little tweaks, bit more variety. This could have been all right. As it is, it's just bit below average. It's well coded. It looks the part. It gets old really quick. And the problem is the whip. It just doesn't have the impact of the smashy yo-yo from Rygar. I mean, that's the cool part about Rygar, and the fact that you could kill monsters without having to bob down. It's just really underwhelming, this, after a while. I actually thought when I first started playing this, I thought, this might be all right. I might have forgotten that this could have been okay. After about 5 minutes, I was like, no, it's not. There's problems. And those problems are unfortunate because it's just not right. It doesn't play right. They've looked at the source material, Rygar, and missed the point of it. Missed the bloody point. They've created a well-coded, well-engineered little piece of software that's just no fun to play, really. And it's a bit of a shame. I'd like to have liked this, but I just don't. What about you? I
thought it was quite depressing, all said and done. Dubious cover with the leopard print bikini-clad glamour model, wasn't it? What's it, Corinne Russell?
Yeah.
She of, hi, I'm Candy. Of course you are. Is
that her?
That's her out of that, yeah.
Oh, wow.
A Highlander. Waving a spear. Not going to be on the feminist highlight show reel, is it, for 88, that one? It was so controversial, that cover, by the way, at the time, that Boots refused to stock it.
Boots? Good Lord.
Boots the chemist. Like, we're not stocking that game. That's far too provocative.
And the porn mags are on the top shelf.
Yeah, exactly. So they refused to and then eventually they did change the cover because they refused to stock it. So crikey, who knew Boots had that much power, eh? The game itself, crap. Game's crap. No ifs, ands, or buts. It's just out and out garbage. Running, whipping, scooting. This is a game where the central character hasn't wiped her ass properly. So she scoots around like a Labrador with worms, trying to clean its ass on a carpet. Graphics are weirdly rigid, I thought. Kind of stiff-looking animations, apart from a couple of things that actually are quite well animated. But apparently they used some kind of early form of motion capture for that.
What, for the fox?
For Fox and the woman. Whether that's bullshit or not is remains to be seen. I don't know. Or maybe the person they captured or the fox they captured was injured. I don't know. It looks like it had a few frames missing a little bit. It's better than your average, I suppose. The in-game audio, it reminded me of something that I couldn't put my finger on. It's been bugging me. I think it might be a Rolling Stones tune. The one that goes, woo, woo. That one. I don't know why, but there's just
Sympathy for the Devil.
Familiarity. Yeah, there's a bit of Sympathy for the Devil in that. I think.
Maybe.
Couldn't put my finger on it. Maybe that. Anyway, it was all right, I guess. Suitably jungly in its own weird way. The main theme was utterly not suited to this game, though. It's like it was from a different thing, which it probably was. Main sprite, like you say, okay. Variant of the character from the advert. Flashes a whip, which oddly slows you down if you jump and whip. So you sort of slow down a bit there. Bit of a bug, I think.
Yeah.
Backgrounds were odd. Aside from the palm trees and things to jump over, there were also what looked to me like giant snooker balls suspended from chains hung on a giant eagle claw mounted on a telegraph pole.
Have you not been to the jungle recently?
I was going to say, it's not out of the jungle playbook. Jungles are kind of green and... and they've got lots of flora and things like that. I don't remember them ever being quite so sparse. It's quite the empty jungle. This is more of a this is a Guns N' Roses welcome to the jungle.
It's handy that they're there though.
Like you say, you whip the balls to release the fox heads. Consume enough of those, and you will transform into a fox at the end of a level or bonus stage. And I'm sensing that was where the weed was kicking in when they were designing it. About that moment there, I think we've just hit the nail on the head. Run to the end, have a scoop, wipe your ass, and then do more of the same and again, keep doing that. Dull, uninspiring nonsense. No fun, dreary, and sexist to boot. Be gone, demon. That's what I thought.
Yes, fair enough. I'm not going to argue with any of that. Vixen, there we go. Vixen and Hawkeye, a sort of double bill of running around in pants. There you go. I'm going to wager, though, that it's not as bad as what's next. So we move on to the next one, the problematic one. Let's move on to it. I'm glad you got this one. Graham, Super Trolley.
It's got cozy 17% in Zap. The one thing I will say is that I always like to see on my games what kind of tape it's been recorded on. And this was recorded on a BASF tape. And that's a sign of quality that you can trust. Let me tell you. That's always good to see. All right, look.
Was that a picture on Moby Games, was it?
No, it's the cover. The actual tape cover's got the words recorded on BASF tape. It's you'll see it on the cover I've put in our show notes. We can share that show note as well if you want to. I was going to read all the instructions for this. Do you know what? I'm not going to bother. The game design for this, from what I can gather, is the result of some kid writing into a TV show called Jim Will Fix It, which was, for anyone that doesn't know, it's a show on BBC TV in the 70s and early 80s, mid 80s, late 80s, yes, that kids used to write into and they would make their wishes come true for them. One kid wrote in, for example, and said he wanted to eat his lunch on a roller coaster. It was that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Here, someone wrote in and wanted them to make his gaming idea into a real game. It wants to be a real game. And I'm deliberately not going to mention the hosts of that show or discuss anything around him out of respect to all the people that suffered criminal and deplorable treatment at his hands. I'm not going to do that. The swift Google will give you all the information you need to know about the person I'm referring to and all of that. I don't want to get into it. I just want to focus on the game because I think that we owe the respect to people to do that. Mm-hmm. So kids' ideas or not, this isn't very good, unfortunately. No. This is why you need a guiding hand when you're making a game. This reminded me very much of the sort of games we used to get in like the first student games, early sort of level 2, level 3 games, really. And by level 2, I mean that's their age range. So the very first games they've been making. You control your store assistant in a supermarket with the remit of stacking supermarket shelves to achieve a score. You must do this for a fixed time each day for all the days of the week. This sees you pushing a supermarket trolley around an isometric environment of empty space and shelves, avoiding customers and such. You get your trolley, go to the warehouse, which is somewhere. I never found it. Collect your items, which I was never able to do, and head around the supermarket restocking, which looked like it never needed doing anyway, because all the shelves were full. This starts with a weird dot game. I have no idea what that's there for.
No, neither do
what purpose it serves. Nor is it mentioned in the instructions either, so I just filled in all the dots and I seem to win. Not sure. I have no idea what that's about. Nope. None. Don't know what it is. The main game itself sees you controlling an odd-looking Seymour Skinner type sprite. He looks a bit like Seymour Skinner from The Simpsons.
Yeah, he does.
With no feet. Pushing a trolley around a sea of badly coloured and badly drawn isometric medium-res backgrounds. The shoppers are generally grey. There's a tiled floor that works against the angle of the trolley and the shelves. It's all out of whack. Someone needed a spirit level, a C64 spirit level badly in here because the trolley's at the wrong angle. You walk around. There's no rhyme or reason to this layout. It feels and probably is about as random as it gets. And that's all I managed to do, all with a jovial and quickly irritating in-game tune. The main window is your bleak isometric world. Under that is a horrible, badly created UI in text with severe line height issues, and that does not please me, let me tell you. It's almost as bad as the logo for Vixen, which has got a chiseled emboss, which I'm still trying to wash out of my mind. The UI gives you the time, score, day, week, and what you're doing, whether you're pushing the trolley or not. I don't think it needed that, because that's the only two states in the game. I don't think it needed an indication of whether you're pushing the trolley or not, because you either are doing that or you're not.
Yeah. You either got the trolley or you haven't.
You don't really need a sign. And that's all. I wasn't actually able to do anything in this game.
Nope.
I couldn't find a way of picking up the stuff. I got told what so it said I needed some cabbages. I could not find a way of picking up those cabbages, and I tried. I put the trolley down, I wandered around. I got lost in a supermarket because the supermarket layout it's worse than a real supermarket, and that's bad enough. Mm-hmm. It was just crazy. It was just a game that was literally put together because some kid wanted it doing, and they've gone, oh, God, don't say, all right. There was nobody sat there and really planned this out. They just wanted to make sure that the kid saw his dream realised onto a game, put it on a shelf so the kid could be on a TV show, go, look, there's my game, look at it flying off the shelves. It would never have happened. Lucky they didn't go back the next day when there was people queuing to bring it back going, this is crap.
It won't load.
That was the day they didn't go in. Yeah, it's got ready, run ready. It's rubbish. So the game's just rubbish. It's obviously been made to please and make some kid happy. And if it did that, great. But even at a budget price, this is just rubbish. I mean, okay, it made somebody happy for a short amount of time, and it was a bit of a TV sort of thing. And kid would have seen it on his shelf, like I said, he'd been happy, and then he maybe would have played it and become angry. I think I would have. Anyway, the game feels more like a statement about the state of things in the 80s, just wandering aimlessly around in grey everything. This is just it's peak Toryism, isn't it? It's the definition of living in a Tory world. Can't find anything, can't do anything, nothing works. Everything's switched off into grey. There's no light at the end of that tunnel. It's just one dreary escapade of wandering around trying to find things to buy, but never actually been able to achieve it. That was the 80s, everyone. Right, see you later.
Yeah.
It's not good, this. Rubbish. But it made a kid smile, didn't it? It made him smile. Oh, nice. What do you think?
It's problematic, isn't it? It's problematic.
Yeah. Well, everything at the top end, yeah.
I haven't written much about this. I mean, I've just sort of noted that in sort of, if it wasn't enough that in this issue of Zap, there's an advert with Gary Glitter in it. We've got this game as well with
so bad.
who we're not mentioning it on the cover. I'm not going to say much about this other than it's bloody rubbish. It needs to be consigned to the bin of history and never spoken of again. I just don't care for it. Whatever.
No, it's just rubbish. Yeah,
it is just dreadful. There we go. That was Super Trolley. Let's forget it and move on. We've got more to do. We've got one more this section, so let's get into that. And it's another budgeter. This is Poltergeist. This was £2. So, Poltergeist. If chaos is what you look for in games, then you might want to check out Poltergeist. The next in the long-running series by Gavin Rayburn of games that are named after films he has on his video shelf and have no relation to them whatsoever. This is...
That's so true.
He does. It's just loads of them.
Absolutely.
This is from Codemasters and ACG Systems, whoever they are, and it's the bargain price instead of £2. The cover of this has what looks like a Ghostbuster of some kind battling a ghost. I don't know why. I don't know why that has this cover.
Why is it on there?
I don't know. I'm looking at it right now.
Why has he got a lightsaber?
He's carrying a lightsaber. There's a ghost. He's got a backpack on and he's swinging it at him. And there's this whatever. And there's what looks like a sort of ghost, sort of wolf or something in the bottom left.
What
it
is
says
that?
Poltergeist at the top. There's a sword in there, but on the bottom right. It's a mishmash of nonsense. None of which has anything to do with this game, aside from the fact that it's called Poltergeist and your craft is called The Exorcist. These films were number 5 and 16 on Mr. Rayburn's shelf. So I can only think that.
I thought the cover for this one, if you took away the Poltergeist, would it not be more suited to that budget jetpacky game that we looked at in the last episode?
It would be. Yes, it would. Who knows?
He's got a jetpack on.
He's got, but nothing to, it would be, I don't know. Somebody said, this game's called, I think he's called this game Poltergeist, told Codemasters, I've made a game called Poltergeist. They've got someone in to draw a cover, gone, it's called Poltergeist, so just do something around that. And then he's turned up with what this game is, and they've gone, well, we can't pay him again. And we ain't got another cover, so it's going out with this. Oh no!
I think it's exactly how it went down.
So anyway, yeah. So most of this is by the man himself. He's improved his coding skills once again. So we'll, put cover aside. Let's get to the game. The title screen for this is full of big scrolling messages and all kinds of effects, key instructions, high score table, and a decent enough tune by Mr. David Whittaker to top it all off. Looks nice, runs smooth, no raster flickers, nothing. Well, it's all good. The presentation here is top notch and puts a lot of full price games to shame that we have looked at. Pressing fire gets into the game, and from the off, this is manic. It's just crazy. It's just manic, but it's technically really accomplished. I thought this really technically accomplished. This is like we've seen him get better and better and better as we've done these games, and this is like where he's really starting to fire on all cylinders. This is the person who's going on to make the Forza games. Remember, Forza Horizon. So you can see him getting better and better. So it reminded me of the level of technical proficiency we saw in that Tangent that a few weeks back. Only here, Mr. Rayburn has remembered to put the game in as well, where they forgot back then. So this is a bi-directional shooter, I guess in the drop zone mold, sort of. It's that sort of thing. Your task is to shoot. There's no story to this. There's none. It's just a blaster. Your task is to shoot the command modules, which litter the landscape, or whatever they're called on each level. These look like little desktop PCs to me. That's what they look like. So you blast them. There are a number of them on each level. There's only one on the first level, so that's quite nice. Eases you in. And if you destroy all these on each level, then the lights, there's a flat landing pad somewhere within the level. The lights on this landing pad will start to flash, and then basically you've got to fly into it, and this takes you to the next level. There's a bit in the middle where it tells you how many lives you got left, how much shield you got left. You score, and off you go again. Boom, you're straight through. This is constant. There's no, everything's just boom, 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 boom. It's really fast and just gets you going. So the next level is more of the same. Got a new landscape though, new enemies to contend with, new stuff. You got more things to shoot and things like that. There are 32 levels in all. There's quite a lot of game to go at here, and there's a lot to like. The game is played on just about the whole screen. In fact, it might be the whole screen, I think. I think it is the entire screen. The main ship sprite is small and nimble, and the enemies are a similar size to you, so this feels like there's plenty of space to play in. There's usually landscape at the top and bottom. Sometimes they're in, not always, and sometimes there's floating islands. Collision with any of these scenery elements is instant death, so don't hit them. At the bottom of the screen are your power-ups. So located through this, so in the bottom border, located through the level are what look like little lollipops. best way to describe them, like little lollipops on sticks. If you shoot these, then the first of your Delta-inspired power-ups will start to flash. They're like yellow Delta power-ups, but whereas they were blue in Delta, they're kind of yellowish in this along the bottom. So from left to right, so the first one you get is like a forward triple shot, so you fire up and down diagonals along with your normal shot. After that, there's multi-shot, so you fire lots of shots in one direction. There's straight up and down shooting, so there's you fire which way you're going and then straight up and down as well. Then you get the next one is a laser. There's back diagonals, so you fire behind you in diagonals. There's four-way shot. I never got this far, so I'm just guessing by the icons at this point. So I couldn't find any instructions to tell me, or I don't think the instructions say what they are. There's diagonals and multi, I think, and there's finally a shield. I think that's what they are. It's quite hard to get to those latter ones. Now, quite nicely, these can be activated with a stab of any key on the left of the keyboard, which is quite nice. You don't really have to aim for a button. It's just mash the bottom far left of the keyboard, and it will activate it. So whichever one's flashing, you can have only one to activate at a time, and you can just activate it whenever you want. You've also got limited smart bombs, and they're activated with the press of the space bar, and you can hold them down, I think, to kill longer, so they last a bit longer. The scrolling in this is fast. The controls are responsive, and the blasting is manic and fast. Everything's fast, and you can hold down the fire button as well. And with a triple shot, it feels pretty powerful. There's none of this one bullet on screen on time of this. There's literally dozens. It's just bullets everywhere and enemies and stuff just flying all over the place. It looks and sounds and plays great, I thought. But there's a really odd omission from the screen. There's no UI. It's really weird. You have a shield, so basically you've got you can take 6 hits from the enemies. I think it's 6 bits of shield, because I've got through a level without losing anything, and at the end it went, you've still got 6 bits of shield left. So you can take 6 hits. There's no visual representation to how many hits you've taken on screen. You don't flash. There's no noise to say you're near death. Nothing. You just die. It's like, oh, I've had 6 hits of us. Okay. So there's no score on screen. There's no nothing. It's really weird. And I don't know why. So like I said, there's no number of lives you've got left. They're just missing. It's weird. I don't know why they're not at the top. There's a big bar of emptiness at the top, and seeing as he's got icons in the bottom border, it seems odd not to have these elements in the top border, kind of like Delta did. And it seems just an odd omission. And you realise sort of thing, that kind of information. Oh, I need to fly a little bit carefully, because it's manic. You're so all over the place. It's just crazy. Yeah, it's odd. That aside, though, I think this is easily the best thing that he's done. It's fast. It's full of action and power-ups. There's loads of stuff to go on. The objectives are clear. You've got to find the little PCs and blast them, collect the things, and then get out, progress to the landing pad and just try and get through. Some of the levels are tricky. They get trickier as it goes on. So there's a nice level of, it gets quite hard, quite quick. God knows how you get to the level 32. But at least there's a rise in difficulty, and the number, this is what was missing from Hawkeye. Hawkeye feels one note. This at least feels like it's one note, but it gets harder. So it starts hard and gets harder. The controls are tight. I thought the visuals, they're not wholly original, but I thought they were pretty well drawn. And I thought it sounded great. I enjoyed this quite a lot. I think 66% for this is a tad unfair on the whole. It's for £2. There's a lot of blasting action to be had here. It's a lot better than some of those things we've seen. And I think, 2/3, I don't know. I think this is better than 66% for a shooter at budget price, but that might just be me. What about you?
It's a mediocre side-scrolling shooter by design. It's not going to shake anyone's boots, is it? But excellent budget fodder. Excellent for budget money. Given the remit at £2, there's loads to shoot at. Really speedy gameplay, plenty of upgrades. All for £2. That would kill an afternoon, wouldn't it? You can't really go wrong with that. It's pretty good.
Yep.
I thought the graphics are okay. No one's going to win an award with them for sure, but for £2, look the part. Average music, in-game sounds were okay. I spent a lot of time smashing into things at really high speed, so it's quite speedy.
Yeah, you do.
And the enemies are all over the place, and there's plenty of them. I quite like the upgrade tree. I quite like the style. That Delta style, yes, it's Delta style, but it works. And, it's pretty easy on the eye. It's standard stuff. There's nothing really original in here, really, but this does everything that it sets out to do well. There's no bugs or anything like that. It is a bit weird that there's no score or lives displayed in the UI. It's a bit odd, or shields or anything like that. But it just means that, it's just all about blasting in the game, and you're just going to get lost in that. I quite like that thought process. Like, just never mind all that. just blow stuff up. Go around blowing stuff up.
Yeah.
You've got no idea how far you've even got in the game, really, apart from until then, the level ends, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Just keep on killing. Don't you stop killing. So I maybe would have liked something that like a countdown that appeared a little bit towards, so you felt like you're progressing in that way. But I don't know. For £2, you can't really go. I thought it was treated a bit harshly as well. I don't think it's a 66%. I mean, it's not doing anything wholly original, but it's doing what it does really well for £2. There's been a lot worse shooters for full money, let alone budget money. So I thought this was all right. It's one of the better ones of these we've seen at budget. I had quite a lot of time for it because I was just blasting and shooting at stuff, and it made that really easy to do. And added advantage of not having to faff about pressing complex keys and things. It was just nice and easy. Shoot, keep shooting, blow stuff up. And I quite like the smart bomb, whatever they call it in this. It's
freak bomb or something. The
freak bomb. Yeah, when you do your freak bomb, it's just nice to just kill everything on the screen and like watch it all go pop. Loads of stuff happening on that screen as well. Yeah, it's good. It just, in a weird way, it reminds me of like a Vegas casino because they're all full of fake lighting and you never know how long you've been there. And that's how long, this game's like that. You never really know how long you've been at it. You just sort of come out of your Poltergeist coma and 2.5 hours has gone by and you think, how far have I even got? I don't know.
I don't know. Who knows? No one knows.
I don't know.
I've got
what
a name
time
on
is
a
it?
high
What
score.
year is this? Exactly.
Yeah.
So for £2, not a bad game at that. Just weirdly named and all that stuff. But take all that to one side. What's on the cassette that you load is a good little game. All said and done. I'd have been happy with £2 spent on that.
Yeah.
So,
Considering
go and give it a go.
Beyond the Ice Palace got 78% and Hopping Mad got 64%. This is better than both of them.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Again, Codemasters delivering on the goods there as well. Good stuff.
Yeah,
Music by Whittaker. It's all right, isn't it? It's just Dave Whittaker stuff. It's never going to be. You can't be cast as terrible.
No, I thought it sounded quite Hubbard-esque.
Well, yeah, he's gone for those sounds, but it's not.
It's not. I mean, but it's the sounds. I mean, it sounds not as in tune, but the sounds used. I think there's some Hubbardy noises. Early Hubbardy.
They're all kind of emulating each other at this point, I think. But it's not terrible, is it? For £2 again, nice.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. When I first booted it, when I first started playing it, I was like, oh my god! I was dead light immediately because I just flew into the first island that was straight in front of you. It's so fast. I was like, okay, I need to slow down and then try and figure out what the hell to do. But yeah, it's good. I like this. Here we go. Poltergeist. All right, that's it. That's our first half of games. 4 interesting games for various reasons. We're going to go away and take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to look at albums for August 1988. So, stick around, please.
The novel Escape from the Commodore 64 by David Hearn is out now. Growing up in the 80s is a chore for Sarah, who feels misunderstood by her parents and badgered by Reese, her bothersome brother who incessantly prattles on about his treasured computer games. When Reese tells her one of the games tried to pull him inside the computer, she laughs off his fanciful fib. She waggles the joystick to disprove his fairy tale and is pulled into the computer. Now trapped in games she'd never had any interest in playing, how can she possibly beat them? With the help of feisty Nell, another trapped player, can Sarah find her way back home, or is it game over? An evil madman, a hostile planet, bloodthirsty robots, a never-ending throng of karate experts, and relentless digital soldiers will do their best to ensure Sarah never escapes. Available from Amazon and all good online retailers, find out if there's a way out of the beige bread bin of betrayal for Sarah in Escape from the Commodore 64.
And we are back. Let's get in some albums. Well, I say let's get into some. It's a bit of a dry month. This.
It's not what you call chock full of nuts, is it? That one.
It's not. The singles last week were great, but the albums, somebody's like gone, we're just saving it for the Christmas boom. This was every album that was actually got a new release in the top 100 in August. This is it. This is what I had to choose from. So, you get what you're given. And so, So we've got 2 number ones to start off with. First 2 weeks of the month, we had Now That's What I Call Music, 12.
Of course it is.
Yeah, so that's just bootling along. It's all the singles. We've talked about these before. Kicking that off the top spot, though, for the last 2 weeks, we had Kylie from Kylie Minogue. And we talked about this before as well, the album. I think we did.
Yeah, because we said last time, because you said your brother had it and he tortured you with it.
He did. Damn
I
him.
just found some information that genuinely surprised me about this. It was the best-selling album of 1988. All right, maybe that's not such a surprise. But with sales of 1.29 million copies over the course of 6 months. On the 5th of January 1989, it was certified 6 times platinum by the British phonographic industry. The album sold 1.9 million copies by the time Enjoy Yourself, which was the follow-up album, was released in late 1989, becoming the 5th highest-selling album of the decade and the highest by a female solo artist in the UK. That is just bonkers, isn't it?
That is that's quite impressive. I think
Crazy.
the UK had a real love affair with Kylie Minogue, didn't we? We were agog with her, shall we say?
She was Neighbours, wasn't she? So for us, she was part of the. She became very quickly part of the sort of TV royalty, and everyone liked her character, Charlene in Neighbours. Everyone loved it, didn't they? So she got married to Jason Donovan's character, whatever he was called in the TV show. I can't remember. What was his
Scott,
name?
wasn't it?
Scott, yeah, it was Scott Robinson, was it?
Scott Robinson, yeah.
So there's part of the furniture, the TV royalty furniture, weren't they?
And don't forget this, Kylie ushered in the wave of Australian soap opera pop stars that would...
There was a lot, even her own sister.
Rush the charts over the next few years. People like Craig McLachlan, Jason Donovan, Danny Minogue, off the top of my head, probably more.
Yes, there was. Well, there was her, Natalie Imbruglia, wasn't there? Quite a few
Natalie
of them.
Imbruglia, yeah.
Half the Neighbours cast came over and had a go, didn't they? Even Stephen Dennis.
Stephen
Jason
Dennis, yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah, all of them had a go. And there were a lot of them. There's loads more as well, because loads of them from Home and Away did it as well. Loads of them did it.
Yep. Even what's his face? Is it Alf? I don't think Alf did.
Yeah, well, there's one that did Alf. There's what Harold did one. Harold and what's her name did it?
Did they? What, Madge and Harold?
I think they did do one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they released a single together. I don't know if that older lady did. I can't remember her name. Helen Daniels. I don't know if she did.
Mrs. Mangle.
No, Helen Daniels
Mrs.
was the older Robinson woman, wasn't she? She was Jim Robinson's mum, I think.
Oh,
Mrs. Mangle was just Mrs. Mangle, but he released a single. The guy that was, young Mangle,
Joe Mangle.
Yeah, the guy that played Joe Mangle. I saw him in pantomime in Grimsby, not that long ago, actually, about 2.5 years ago. He was good in it as well.
Was he playing someone, or did he just sort of rush the stage?
he was the baddie in it, of course. He was the villain.
Of course, he was the baddie. Yeah, it's like he was sort of the Australian Nasty Nick, wasn't he?
Yeah, he sort of. Then he became nice, didn't he?
He became nice, yeah. Whereas Nasty Nick was always nasty.
Yeah,
he was always a wrong one.
He was. Yeah, he was. He was indeed.
Anyway, there you go. It's your number ones. Right, let's get into some of these albums. Oh my God. 7th of August, the very first new release was at number 67, and it's All of This and Nothing by the Psychedelic Furs. Not even a new album.
No, it's a compilation notion. But I don't. It says a compilation album, but I couldn't quite figure out what the difference is between a compilation album and a best of.
Well, I guess a compilation album could include some crap.
I guess I don't know enough about the Psychedelic Furs to tell anyone what was on that. I don't know. I'm never going to know.
No, I'm not either. They all sound the same. In at number 87 was Buenas Noches from a Lonely Room by Dwight Yoakam. What the hell is this?
Big country and western star from the US. Like huge.
Oh, he does both, does he?
Yeah, country and western, yeah. But like Blues Brothers. Yeah. I bet he sings Rawhide really well.
Maybe. There's a picture in there. I don't know what to make of it. Anyway, there's nothing released.
Yeah, I don't know how recent that is. That.
No. 14th of August, number 61, the Mac Band featuring the McCampbell Brothers by the Mac Band featuring the McCampbell Brothers. It's just lazy. Lazy naming. Yeah. I don't know much about the Mac Band. I did listen to them, and it sounds kind of as you'd expect it. If we'll put a picture maybe in the show notes, and you'll figure that out what they'd sound like by looking at that picture. Yeah, I can imagine. Looks a bit Boys to Men.
Yeah, it's sort of R&B type stuff.
Yeah, okay. That was it. There was that one. That was it for 14th of August. 21st of August. There's something to talk about. Number 13, Hot City Nights by various artists. Yeah.
I don't get it.
Why?
Because I don't get that track listing off this. I don't get Hot City Nights off it.
I don't get Hot City Nights. It's a bad title. However, I did look at this, and apart from 3 tracks on here, this is a pretty good compilation. I think most of it's really good. You got I Want to Break Free by Queen, Alone by Heart, New Sensation XS, Crazy Crazy Nights Kiss, Summer of 69, Bryan Adams, Robert Plant with Big Log. Is that just another way of saying his name?
Maybe. Bob Log.
Foreigner, I Want to Know What Love Is, Eric Clapton with Wonderful Tonight there. Bon Jovi, Living on a Prayer, Billy Idol, Hot in the City, Magnum. I don't know why it says Magnum 3. I don't know. Maybe it's the third one, Magnum. There's still Discogs in it. Start Talking Love. Whitesnake, Here I Go Again. Marillion, Lavender. Pat Benatar,
Dilly
We
Dilly.
Belong, Big Country, Look Away, and Rush, Spirit of Radio. There's only 4 in there that I'm not particularly keen on. But the rest of that, they're crap. I would quite happily listen to that driving along in my car with the top down and my ponytail flowing. It'd be
I
great.
don't think I would be at all.
I would. That's a great album.
I don't know why they called it Hot City Nights. I don't get it. And even the cover looks like it would be tracks that you listen to on some hot city nights.
Yeah.
But you're never going to be driving through the evening sunset of Los Angeles with the wind blowing through your hair, looking at the sunset go down over Santa Monica Boulevard, listening to Look Away by Big Country.
No, that's true. It did remind me, though. Spirit of the Radio of Rush is on there as well, isn't it? I mean, that's weird. It's like 10 years old at this point. It's 1978, I think that was. And I would never think of Hot City Nights or Summer Nights,
No.
whatever it is, with Spirit of the Radio.
No, and it's odd that it's the last track as well. I mean, it's not the track you would ever put on as an end of an album, is it?
No, because it's the first track on Permanent Waves. It's a track.
Exactly.
That riff
It's an opener.
is an album opener. Been a little. It's
Yeah,
an
exactly.
album opener. So it's a weird. However, it did remind me of it's got "We Belong" by Pat Benatar on here. Benatar.
Oh dear.
Benatar,
But
which I went and listened to again, and I realised was a great song. I love that song.
For God's sake.
it's a great tune.
Crap songs of the 80s.
This video has her clapping under a waterfall, which I was always a fan
Of
of.
course it does.
It's a really long shot.
Did you say clapping?
Clapping. She's clapping under a waterfall. It's a long shot. She's on one side, and on the other side of on the sort of pond that the waterfall going into, there's a choir. I mean, it's just brilliant. It's just great stuff.
80s trite. Isn't
She
it?
also looks
All right.
really, really different in that video to what we saw her last week when she went all Rocky. Not Rocky as in Balboa. That would be really weird.
Just started beating up a Russian for some reason.
And it's got that crap Magnum one. That Magnum one is the one with the highways and byways of Britain's motorways on it.
Yeah, you're not selling me the album with there so far.
I did say there's 4 tracks on it. It's the Magnum one, the Marillion one, the Big Log one, and Eric Clapton. The rest is great.
I'm not feeling a Hot City Night with Lavender's Blue Dilly Dilly La. I'm not doing it.
No. Crazy, Crazy Nights. All right. I Want to Break Free, maybe.
Is that the only song that Kiss allowed to be put on compilation albums alternative that's not by them? Every compilation album in the 80s had that track on it.
Yeah, true. To be that, or what was the other one?
God
the one
Gave
that
Rock and Roll to You later. That came later. Then.
maybe
That's
the one
the
that,
other
what's the one that the Donnas covered? Detroit something or other. I can't remember.
There is another one that's very popular by them. That's on
Yeah.
those things.
Da, 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 ba, 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 na, na.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called.
I don't know what that is. I don't know a lot of Kiss stuff.
That was always on stuff. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good compilation album. Well, probably back then I probably wouldn't have, but right now, yeah, that'd be fine for me. But like you said,
Fair
me
enough.
and my crap 80s song love,
Yeah,
it's
there's
gone all
anything
too
wrong
far. But hey ho, we belong to each other. Great tune. Great tune. I bet Gary loves that. I've put money on it that Gary loves that
Of
song.
course, he loves everything.
Except eggs.
Yeah, he lays them. He has a love-hate relationship with them, but
Unless he bleeds brown sauce on them.
exactly, you can't love the one you lay. Is the way he looks at those.
Yeah, well,
He sees every egg that he's laid as his little mini children.
He paints
Which
a
they
face.
probably are.
He paints a face on them and everything. A
He
brown
does.
sauce
I'll
face.
call you Steve-O.
Oh dear, Eggy Steve. In at number 17, after that, is Rock the World by 5 Star.
4th album from them.
I never knew they got to 4 albums, I have to say.
Neither did they. They got to get to 5 because they're called 5 Star. It would be disappointing if it's their 4th and final album. It's like,
Yeah, it would
we
be,
never
yeah.
got to 5, damn you all. We should have been 4 Star.
Yeah, and it's the picture of them in the quarry on the cover.
Yeah,
It's not
weird how
great,
her hair
is it?
blends in with that.
It
No,
is,
it's not
yeah.
good.
I mean, you put his songs from the quarry face, sounds like a Doctor Who enemy.
It probably where they shot Doctor Who, that quarry, to be honest.
Of course they did, yeah. They all look, like I said before in that video, they desperately want to be in the new Mad Max film. Like they're
Yes, I think
auditioning for
they've
it.
gone for that look, haven't they?
Yeah.
Janet
It's not good.
Jackson, Michael Jackson, the kind of Jackson look of that
Yeah, they
time.
have.
It's clearly aiming at a US market. I mean, they may as well just put on the cover, please buy this if you live in the USA because we want you to buy it.
Are the US really interested in rock faces and quarries?
No, but it's that look that they've got, isn't it? It is totally sort of trying the sort of Mad Max approach, I think. I think that's the sort of avenue they've gone for, without a doubt, because it's got that kind of colour scheme, hasn't it? Aside from its weird
Yeah.
red and black.
And her hair
Stripey
is
bit,
very
but-
similar to Tina Turner's in
Yeah,
Beyond
completely,
Thunderdome.
totally and utterly. It's a good album by them. Actually, it's pity that it's just crap cover material.
Number 18 is the Eight-Legged Groove Machine by the Wonder Stuff, finally released. Yeah.
Debut album. Not heard it. When I looked at the track listing, I didn't recognise a single one of them, which pleased me. And this is my curse with the Wonder Stuff and a lot of those bands. They're just merged into one noise for me. Not my cup of tea at all.
Yeah, I can understand that. I had this. It was okay as an album. It was all right. No, it wasn't entirely my cup of tea at the time. There were loads of people I knew loved this. All the indie people I knew sort of hanging around, especially at sixth form and stuff by this point. They were all over this. They were loving it. But I just hated the lead singer, as I said before. And so that was that really put me off them.
So you burned it.
So, yeah, I just hated them. Number 52 is Conscience by Womack and Womack.
Yeah, Womack's.
I don't know much about these.
The married partnership of Linda Womack and Cecil Womack. They don't look like a Linda and Cecil.
They don't.
Or Cecil, no. I suppose it would be. They don't look. She doesn't look much like a Linda, and he doesn't look much like a Cecil or a Cecil. I just imagine them having smoother and cooler names than that. But they're the Womacks.
They're the Womack. Yeah, as you said, why not call themselves the Womacks? Yeah, or Womack to the power of 2. Far catchier.
Yes, that
Get
could
a bit
have
of
been
maths in
that's
there.
probably the best of. Womack squared. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Probably what it is. Square. His hair's a bit square.
It could have been sponsored by different things, couldn't they? As well, there's no sponsorship on that. I'm saying it's a very generic branding on there. There's no even they ain't got the name of their album on that cover. If that is the cover.
That the cover to? Is that the cover to the record?
It might be. I don't know. Or did I just? I'm thinking. Did I just find?
Did you just find a picture of them? That's probably not even them.
It's probably it might not be. Thinking about
just
it,
a picture of a couple.
Just a couple of people. They're the Womacks, but there's nothing to do with Linda Womack and Cecil Womack. There's just a whole different bunch of Womacks.
Womack. What Womack in The Rock? He was, wasn't he? He was what he keeps saying. Womack. Womack. Sean Connery says it.
He does, yeah.
Womack.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So he's the third Womack. He's the missing Womack.
Yes.
Womack to the power of 3. Number 76 is The House Sound of London, Volume 4.
Oh, there's a whole bunch of this stuff, isn't there? This was the
don't
jacking
know what this
zone.
is.
Jacking in the jacking zone on this one.
I don't want to jack. I'd never wanted to jack.
I hadn't heard of a single track on there, so I was like, "Oh, right, okay."
I'm not jacking to no tracking. 28th of August. In at number 6 is So Good by Misha Paris.
Debut album. It's actually quite a good album for that from Misha Paris. If you like that kind of thing,
Which I don't.
if you don't. But the cover of the album looks like she's been run over and killed,
It
and
does
just laid
look
in the sand.
Yeah, it looks like she's about to be dragged into the sea. Looks like that
It
bit in
does.
Creep Show with Ted Danson, where they
does,
get buried
yeah.
up to their necks.
It does, yeah. It's she's just got this dead-eyed blank stare. It honestly looks like she's dead.
Yeah, it's an odd album cover, isn't it?
It's not exactly shouting because it says the album's called So Good.
It don't
It's
look
not
so
shouting
good to
good
me.
times. No, that looks like that's quite bad.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks quite
Dead-eyed
depressing.
stare. It's a bit unnerving, really.
It really is. Number 13 is Don't Be Afraid of the Dark by the Robert Cray Band.
A big blues player, Robert Cray. Amazing blues player. I mean, like, if you're talking blues players, Robert Cray is the guy, one of the guys.
All right, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, really good.
Number 16 is Rock the House by Jelly Bean. Jelly Bean?
I can't look at the cover of this. It makes me angry looking at it. As soon as I found it, it made me angry instantly. Everything about it makes me angry. Everything.
I threw a comb at it.
It's just everything that if you said to someone, right, you presented this to me as the album design. Everything that you could have possibly made wrong with something is wrong. The background picture's bad, out of focus, and it's not a very good picture anyway. And his hair's all over the shop. You've got so many contrasting fonts, and the logo for Jelly Bean is inexplicable. Really, it's so bad. I think it ranks as one of the worst album covers I've ever seen.
Yeah,
It's so crap, and it's not a very good album either. Jelly Bean Benitez, isn't it? So, and if that's Jelly Bean Benitez, he does not look like I imagined him to.
yeah, that is him. Yeah, that's definitely him. I did recognise him,
okay.
but that rocks the house. That sort of painted thing across the middle.
It's borderline Comic Sans. That it's not far off. I don't like that kind of display font. I mean, look at the weird angular details on that. There's where it's a special low price album. It's just on some kind of weird arch for no reason whatsoever. Just stuck there.
Yeah,
I don't want to see it anymore. It needs to be out of my eye line.
Yeah, what's that?
I'm scrolling away now.
What's the purple bar on the right? Why is that there?
Why? Why is the Jelly Bean logo like that?
I don't know. Why the E's?
Why is it?
Why the E's not level with each other? Why is nothing?
It looks like it looks. It's either because this was released conveniently released on the Predator homeworld as well, or the V homeworld, because that looks like the writing off either of those two, doesn't it?
does. Put it this way: if this was, they would have hunted him down and put 3 crosses in the 3 points in the front of his forehead and shot him for this. That's what the Predators would have done upon release of this. Jelly bean.
I want a Predator to say jelly bean now a lot. Really want that now. Jelly bean. Jelly bean. Over here. Turn around. Rock the house. Rock the house.
Jelly bean.
Predators would do Ace House mixes, wouldn't they? Over here. Oh, over here. He was 19. No, 19. Rock the house.
When I ripped his skull out.
For God's sake, it's the Predator house mix. Get down.
Let's move on from Jelly Bean.
I'm scrolling away now.
Jelly Bean.
Anytime.
Billy. Number 20, rap tracks, various artists. Well, what's
my
going on this
misnomer
month?
alarm went off massively when I saw that. It just went off like a siren. Misnomer. Like, goodness me. I thought, why would that be going off? And when I looked, the first 2 tracks on rap tracks are Yaz and the Plastic Population, The Only Way's Up, and S Express Superfly Guy. I'm like, that's not rap at all.
No, it's not. Not as I know it. It's no.
Stupid thing.
Yeah, there you go. That's that one. In at number 40 is Non-Stop by Julio Inglesias.
Right. I say what you want about Julio Iglesias. He was popular with the old middle-aged women at that time, wasn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
That guy could sell an ironing board like no other man.
That's true. Or parsnips, going by the front cover of this. I'm going to read this.
Very clever guy. Very clever guy.
As you've noted, he's a former professional footballer. So I went and looked. I went and looked on Wiki, and this is from the Wiki. This is crazy. He alternated playing professional football with studying law at the CEU San Pablo University in Madrid. In his youth, he was a goalkeeper for Real Madrid Castilla in the Segunda Division. His professional football career was ruined when he was involved in a serious automobile accident in 1963 that left him unable to walk for 2 years. The accident smashed his lower spine and left his legs permanently weakened and requiring therapy for several years. He has said of those years, "I had more courage and attitude than talent." While he was in hospital after the accident, a nurse named Eladio Magdaleno gave him a guitar so that he could recover the dexterity of his hands. In learning to play, he discovered his musical talent. After his rehabilitation, Iglesias studied for 3 months at Bell Educational Trust Language School in Cambridge, England, and after that he returned to obtain his law degree at Complutense University in Madrid. I mean, fair play to the man. I mean, that's incredible.
Goodness me. I tell you what, and if he can sell parsnips at 65p a pack on top of all that,
then there really is no end to this man's talents.
That is an incredible story, isn't it? I mean, that is amazing.
Yeah, I didn't know any of that.
Oh, wow.
No.
And his son's a musical talent as well, isn't he? So Enrico.
He is. Yeah. So, I mean, good Lord. I mean, I love that. It is a bit, what's his face? What's the Marvel guy? Doctor Strange, isn't it?
And then he kicked a football and then took someone to court, playing all his skills to his advantage there.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. I was impressed with all that story. There you go. It's this feel-good story for the week.
We're calling this the Julio Iglesias moment. Julio Iglesias moment. And you know what? I'm so tempted. I might put that music underneath that bit when you read out his story then.
I think you should. Number 87.
And you also got to do an advert in his voice for parsnips. Or maybe I'll do that.
When you don't want potato. You don't want sweet potato. You need the goodly parsnip. 65 pesos a pound.
65 pesos? Euros?
No, when he was selling them back in 1988.
That's a Mexican currency, the peso,
yeah.
isn't it?
What did they sell? What's the currency in Spain? What was
the parsnip, ironically enough.
65 parsnips a pack.
That seems like a good price.
Do I get 65 parsnips in it? No, 4. What do you think I am, made of parsnips?
Damn this government and their stupid currency.
Which we can't remember. I don't know what the Spanish currency was before they went to the euro.
What was the Spanish currency?
I don't know. I just said I don't know.
Remember that?
I honestly don't. I can remember the drachma.
I'm going to have to look it up.
And I can remember the franc. And There was the
Peseta.
The peseta. What did I say? Pesos. I wasn't far off.
Yeah, but it's not far off potato, is it? It's not far from parsnip.
65 potatoes for a pack.
For a pack of parsnips. This root vegetable stock exchange is ruining our lives.
I give you 3 turnips. Never.
3 turnips for 1 marrow. Are you having a laugh?
Oh dear.
Anyway.
Good old Julio.
Yes. That man can sell a parsnip.
That's why they call him the comeback kid.
It is. Yes, it is.
Where was I? Got 3 albums left. Number 87 is Find Out by Stephen Dante.
Electro funk slap bass. And that is so strong, it's crazy.
I wasn't quite prepared. My speakers were up quite loud when I listened to this, and I thought, and then it started, and I thought I'd blown them. I thought I'd blown my speakers when that slap bass came in, that electro funk, what a noise. It's
it's
like, Jesus.
quite epic, isn't it, the noise on that one?
Yeah. It's like mixed by him out of Iron Maiden.
Yeah, it's very heavy, very electro, that.
In at number 90 was House Hallucinations, Pump Up London.
Got Jack the Basses on that one.
Various artists. Jack the Bass on that one as well, is it?
Yeah, by Jack Master Funk, yeah. Jack the Bass.
Good old Jack the Bass. And finally, in at number 98 was The Greatest Hits Live by Carly Simon.
Yes. Do you like Carly Simon, actually? Just as
I like
curiosity.
The popular songs of Carly Simon.
Yeah, I remember Nobody Does It Better, because is that on a Bond movie? One of the Bond movies, isn't it?
That's Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah. Maybe I think Nobody Does It Better. Does it sound the same? Is it the same? I don't know. Anyway,
I don't know.
For some reason I thought Carly Simon sang a James Bond song.
If it is, it'll be that one, because that's on Spy Who Loved Me.
Ah, that'd be why then.
Yeah, but you've got You're So Vain, haven't she? Which,
yes, You're So Vain. Yeah. Coming Around Again / Itsy Bitsy Spider, of course. Very famous track.
Any more?
I don't know anymore.
No, I don't either. It's a very short live set.
Cozy 10 minutes.
Nobody Does It Better goes on for 6 hours.
Well, I tell you what, Coming Around Again, Itsy Bitsy Spider goes on for ages, doesn't it? Because she keeps singing that Itsy Bitsy Spider. It's like, it's I know nothing stays the same. Coming around again. She keeps just singing that over and over again.
Yeah, it's a real crowd pleaser. Anyway, that's it. That's the albums. It was a strange month. Strange month. But at least we had the Julio Inglesias moment.
Exactly. I rate that month 3 turnips.
I'll rate you 2 marrow.
Vegetable poker is what they play out there, is it?
I'm all in. Oh my God, the table can't handle it.
The Root Veg Casino is doing very well at the moment. Yeah, they're instead of like a ball in the roulette, they're just throwing like a potato just goes tumbling around in there. Is it on red? Is it on black? I don't know. It's broken in half.
I don't know. It's turned into chips.
Damn it, we should have used a new potato with a smaller, rounder.
They are. They're much better. There we go. That's your albums. Let's leave this place because it is a silly place. We'll be back in a bit. We've still got 5 games to get through, and I don't think many of them are very good. But we shall see. We'll see you in a bit.
The novel Escape from the Commodore 64 by David Hearn is out now. Crash landing on a green planet full of vector graphics, can Sarah find a way to escape for real? Or is she stranded on a planet full of sun, sea, and chippy tea forever? Imagine finding yourself in a cinematic karate game, having to rescue a princess, or remain stuck under the run-stop key forever. What about finding yourself on a space freighter full of robots? Could you clear the decks? If you were transported back to a Wild West town, having to round up outlaws, could you survive until sunset? What if you were a wizard with a cat who must colour worlds? Could you beat the game, or would a virtual guitar solo announce your demise? Sarah might just be another visitor, but she doesn't want to stay a while, never mind forever. Available from Amazon and all good online retailers, discover if there's a way out in Escape from the Commodore 64. Visit davidhearnwriter.com to find out more.
Are you keeping up with the Commodore? Yes, the Commodore is keeping up with you.
Well, after that root vegetable-based nonsense, we are back. And we've got 5 games still to get through. So let's waste no time and get straight into them. Graham, take us to hell and back.
To hell and back. $9.95 from CRL. Right.
set expectations to low.
Everything in this is done by Andy Jervis, code, graphics, musician, the whole lot. He did everything. Nothing he didn't do. There ain't
Good on
nothing
him.
he can't do.
No.
To Helen back, you are Archangel Bertram. You've got to try and gain access.
Who?
Bertram. Yep.
I've never
You've
heard
got
of
to try
him.
and gain access into the underworld by traveling around. Right. Now, I'm not sure who wrote these instructions or where they're from. Okay. I'm just going to put this out there now. I don't know if these are the official ones or not. I don't think they are. So I'm just going to read what I've got out here because this is what I could find. You are Archangel Bertram. Try to gain access into the underworld by traveling around the netherworld, that land between earth and hell, retrieving the 10 commandments. Throughout the graveyard and netherworld levels, you will be challenged by ghosts, zombies, and skeletons when you finally arrive in hell to fight it out with Mephisto. Your way is not only barred by giant wolves and snakes, but also Mephisto's gophers. But don't despair, you have your own secret weapon with you, your halo. In this semi-maze, two-way scrolling game with over 500 screen, no one is killed. You only stun your attackers, and they are transformed into angels and sent back to heaven. That's the instructions. Maybe legit instructions or not. I don't know for sure.
No.
I like the loading screen image that depicts the main character either dressed as a Scotch egg
or a potato.
a potato, or possibly wearing a cooked turkey carcass. We'll park that for now. Let's just park that. The game begins with a title screen depicting a pair of devilish eyes staring at you. And a mini animation at the bottom of the screen where your character steps on the cloak of a ghost who promptly gets embarrassed and runs away only to return with a whole bunch of his mates and then chase you off. You'll laugh yourself stupid at that. You will. You won't.
Well, I will, because it's just ripped off from Pac-Man.
Yeah. Yeah. The music, which is a shrieking cacophony, won't impress you, though. And that's the same music you get into the game, too, and it will eventually make you want to hurt yourself. The game begins with the press of the fire button, and you are transported to a kind of walled Ghost and Goblins-inspired game world. Think characters popping up from the ground, ladders to climb, fire pits to jump, and, well, you'd be thinking correctly. The character has a halo on top of his head, which doubles as your weapon. Press the fire button, and it will shoot out and kill your enemies, which generally appear all over the level like they do in Ghosts and Goblins. Jumping is controlled with the joystick here, and the goal is to make your way across the level to the end where you will fight a boss. In the first stage, it was a giant Scooby-Doo, which is odd, and then collect one of the 10 commandments. And so it goes. That's how the game is played. It's like Ghosts and Goblins, or it's a Ghosts and Goblins clone, really, with some added oddness. Some of the enemy types home in on you, which can often leave you in difficulty, as if they don't kill you, they will cause you to jump or fly back from your current position, which often leaves you dead or in peril or both.
Yep.
It's challenging if you're on a platform, but there's plenty over here because it'll sometimes just throw you into the fire. Also, on some occasions, you are spawned in really awkward places and killed instantly, which I hate in games that do that. Hate that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a total trial and error game, this. It's quite hard, all said and done. And I noted that your halo weapon is generally okay, unless you are falling from a height, which means it won't fire and floats back to your head really slowly, which is really annoying. In this game, that is life or death. So the graphics here are somewhat chunky, but okay. The main sprite is odd, but controls reasonably well and looks like some kind of bearded guy, I guess. I guess that's Bertram for you. The background graphics are varied and pretty colourful, and the enemies aren't terrible. They kind of blend in a little too much in some of the levels, and it can often be difficult to discern background from hazard. So you'd be walking along on the second level and you'll fall into a pit of spikes, and you won't have even known that it was a pit of spikes because it's really hard to see them. There's ladders and platforms, all the usual array of challenges. It's not utterly terrible, this. It just looks and plays like a poor imitation of Ghosts and Goblins, which has been out for a good while now anyway. The UI is small at the bottom with lives, halos. I don't know if halos were limited or not. I can't remember, but I remember seeing the count for the halos. So you're going to get so many halos, which is stupid again. Number of commandments attained, mostly in a yellow typeface and a brown background. But it's only 2 or 3 characters high, so there's not much. It's not very good. There isn't much new or exciting in here. It's not throwing anything amazing into the mix, and it's full price. Indeed, it's more than Ghosts and Goblins. The score is about right, I think, for what it is. Whatever the score was, it was quite low, wasn't it? Was it 59%?
59%.
Yes, probably a bit too high, maybe. It's not great, this. It's passable, I suppose, for CRL. And I mean, compared to the other way, this is a pure bloody genius compared to all the other crap output. But that's not saying much, is it? This is just the least crap. And that's not a review you want on anything. It lacks.
This band was the least bad of the night.
Exactly. It lacks any real fun. It feels very derivative, very tired format. We've seen loads of this kind of stuff. I mean, it was only last episode we were playing Beyond the Ice Palace, and that's not. It's essentially this, isn't it? It's not far off this, really. Just a different character and kind of a moderately different setup, but the principality of it is the same. No extra weapons that I could note in this game either. Your main screen is, as I said, it plays and looks like Ghosts and Goblins. It's quite a big play area, but I don't know. It's just, if I'm going to play Ghosts and Goblins, I think I'm just going to play Ghosts and Goblins. I'm not going to go to Aldi and get CRL's version here. So, no, it wasn't for me, this. And it's expensive at 10 quid. Another CRL ripoff, really. They're just copying someone else's game, not doing as good a job of it, and charging more. Are you mad? That's not a business model that's ever going to work. Anyway, I didn't think much to it at all. So, what about you?
I think you thought more to it than I did. Let's put it that way. I said, I've started this with Crappy Rubbish Limited, which is what I think CRL actually stands for now.
Yeah.
Strike
it's
again.
Not good, this.
God-awful Ghosts and Goblins knockoff. There's a cadence and there's a speed to the enemies in Ghosts and Goblins that this is sorely lacking here, as you're beset by a stream of naff sprites constantly from both in front and behind. Couple that with being bounced back, usually into fire, as you've noticed, when you're hit, you have a recipe for awful. And this is certainly that. Ugly sprites, annoying music. I didn't like this at all. I thought it was horrible. It's just horrible to play. Just the jumping was crap, the way those platforms were sort of staggered. You had to kind of jump up them, and some of and just the constant. Don't give me limited ammo when you put unlimited enemies in.
Stupid. Yeah, no, completely agree. It's a stupid thing to do.
It's a ridiculous thing. You can only shoot so many times, but the enemies never stop. Like, this doesn't work. That doesn't work. Why have a Halo as a boomerang? It's not shaped like that.
No, it's a massive map on that game as well. It's huge.
I'm sure there is. I don't care. It's stupid. This game is awful. Bugger off to hell and never come back, as far as I'm concerned. I hated this.
Drag it to hell.
Yeah, awful. I was started to play it, and I was like, oh my god. I thought it was really ugly as well. Really ugly.
Yeah, it's not a nice looking thing, is it? Really?
Just a mess of a thing. 59%. Christ on a bike. Poltergeist got 66, so 66%, 77% better than that. You could have a laugh. Madness. This was a poor 30% at best for me.
It's not good.
I hated it. Can bugger off. There we go. To hell and back. Didn't rub me up the wrong way. That one did. I just can't stand being hit and then bounced into death.
No, I hate that. And there's been a few that have done it recently in these.
Yeah,
as well.
just don't knock me back and kill me. Just don't do that. You're just going to earn my ire.
Ghosts and Goblins does it, doesn't it? But you at least don't die from it, because it just takes your armor off you, doesn't it?
Yeah, and most times as well. There's one bit of water and a couple of pits in Ghosts and Goblins. So you're not generally getting bounced to death. It's
totally there's parts of that game you can't get past because of that bug, really.
Yeah, it's horrible. Just horrible. I really didn't like this at all. There you go. Let's leave it alone. Let's move along into our next one. And our next one is, Street Fighter. Street Fighter has appeared. Hadouken!
Named that, yes. It's named that.
It's named that. This version's named that. So it's £9.99. Okay. What do you say about Street Fighter? I mean, what do you say? I mean, it's one of those very rare occurrences we get where this game is, it's the start of something that we all know will go on to be huge. I mean, the Street Fighter name will go on to be huge things when the sequel arrives and sets the bar for fighting games going forward. When Street Fighter 2 lands and then the NES port arrives and things like that, and it's massive. I used to play loads of Street Fighter when I was away at college. Someone had a SNES, and that version on there, and we used to play quite a lot of it. That and Mario Kart. But this is the beginning of it. Here we go. This is Street Fighter, and this is the C64 version of that. From the wiki, I'm just going to read from the Wikipedia. Street Fighter was designed by Takashi Nishiyama and Hiroshi Matsumoto. It debuted in arcades in 1987, and the player controls martial artist Ryu, I don't know how to pronounce that, to compete in a worldwide martial arts tournament spanning 5 countries and 10 opponents. Okay, so there you go. That's what this is all about. The C64 version manages to include all this with 5 countries, 10 opponents present. All there, all present and correct. This was converted by Tiertex, according to Lemon64, although Moby Games lists Scott Maxwell as the programmer. I'm not sure if that's the UK or US version. We'll see. I don't know. And this version, first version I'm going to look at, is because there's 2 versions here. So this first version, the main version, was really this one that was reviewed in Zap is the European version. So and this was by Go. So 5 countries to travel around and 10 opponents to fight. The locations are Japan, USA, England, China, and Thailand. The opponents to fight there are Retsu and Geki, I guess, in Japan. There's Joe and Mike in the USA. There's Birdie and Eagle in England. What?
Whatever.
Are we all named after golf scores over here?
We are, yeah.
We clearly are. There's Lee and Jen, or Gen, in China. And there's finally Adon, and Sagat in Thailand. So this is another multi-load to fit it all in. And when it starts, we get some options. We can turn the multi-load on or off, which is quite interesting, actually. I've never seen that before in a game. And this means that it never, because it just loads in the different backgrounds and the characters, but all the characters are obviously there. It's just loading the background. So this means if you turn that off, you just play all the way through. Just all the fights happen in Japan. So if you're just about the fight and you don't care about the background, turn the multi-load off. Make it much quicker, I'd have thought. So that's quite handy. It's a nice touch. We can also choose to play multiplayer, and if you play multiplayer, one-on-one, then the winner of that goes on to the single-player mode. Odd. Why can't you just carry on with a two-player mode?
That's the odd thing.
It's a bit weird. It's a bit strange. I mean, it's like the arcade game, I think. When you fight in the arcade game with two players, then you go on to the single-player mode, I think. Anyway, finally, we can press 5 to start the game. There's also a tune playing. I'm not sure if it's trying to replicate the sounds of the arcade. It's weird. It's a weird tune. I don't know where it comes because I had a look at the arcade version. There's no tune on the title screen, but there are some interstitial tunes. I think it might be one of them. It's got weird tunes, though. Weird noises for the C64. It feels really bassy, like a sort of arcadey sound. It's actually quite interesting sounds they've managed to get out of this, I think. Whoever's done it, I don't know who's done it. And that's kind of prevalent throughout most of the tunes in this version. It's odd bassy noises. Weird. Anyway, click fire and we're into our first fight with Retsu. I don't remember Retsu. He didn't make it to the later Street Fighter games, did he?
Don't believe so.
Who's Retsu? As I said, we play as Ryu, and it's our job to beat the living crap out of all in front of us. First things first, I'm never a fan of games that just use the C64 font for stuff. I think it's lazy.
No.
And this does that for the UI elements at the top. So the UI, well, it's got the elements of the arcade, but the way it's laid out is crap. It's all over the place. You got player 1 and 2's health. They're above each other. Why are they not on the left and right?
No.
Why? Why the number of rounds? The number of rounds are, though, but, each fight is the best of 3. But the health's not. It's weird. You got the score for the player, the time left. Each fight is 2 minutes. Just why is the health above each other? Why are they not left and right? Weird. So this version has the scrolling backdrop that the arcade has. So as you fight, the backdrop pans left and right as you sort of move in front of this. And we have our two characters battling it out. And, well, I mean, the backdrops are not great. They're a bit chunky. They're a bit blocky. They're a bit ugly. But they're nothing compared to the characters. The characters are blocky, lumpen, and indistinct. A mass of colours that resemble their arcade counterparts if you close your eyes and just imagine the arcade game. It's gone beyond squint in this. The animation is jerky and odd, and the moves are not particularly easy to pull off. There's no. I read the manual. I looked at the manual. I couldn't see any instructions for actually, how to do moves. So there's nothing in there. So God knows, what you're supposed to do. Collision is all over the place. The response to doing things feels slow and leaden. This is lumpy fighting. Lumpy, blocky, ugly fighting. All the personality of the arcade game has been ripped away, and landing a hit feels more like luck than skill. I mean, I tried to do the upward punch. That's the sort of the jump. Don't know where that was. Disappeared. I don't know if that move's still in there. I don't think it is.
There.
No, the enemy AI is brutal. They seem to be able to land hits from out of nowhere. They just do you in. They just do you in. This feels sluggish, like I said, and horrible in the hand, and just a bad beat 'em up. There's no instructions. So just lost, just trying things, and the jerky nature of the whole thing leads to another in the long line of terrible ports from the arcade. So this is awful. It's really bad, ugly. The only decent thing is that weird sort of bass sound, which I quite liked for the music. I didn't really mind that. But playing this it's just painful. It's horrible. I didn't like it. And normally that's where we'd leave it. It'd just be like, a crap conversion of something that would go on to be a lot bigger. But there's a US version to this as well. And as we've seen recently, we saw it with some other games. It's totally different. Totally different. So what of that version? This version was made by Pacific DataWorks International, who made the god-awful Bionic Commando US version. So you're thinking, okay. Was this going to be another one? And again, was published by Capcom. When the game loads, the music's a bit less bassy. It's not as good as the EU version. We do have more options, though. So we have a difficulty option in this version, in the American version. So you can swap from novice to normal to expert. Nice. Okay. And we can turn the music on or off. But we can't get rid of the multi-load here. So it is on multi-load no matter what. Also, if we leave the title screen for a little while, we get a weird demo of Ryu and Retsu fighting in front of the Street Fighter logo. And the first thing you'll notice here is the quality of the sprite. They're high res and they're far more detailed and well animated than the horrible EU version. They're actually very good. Into the game, we've lost the screen scrolling, so they've just dumped that. They've gone, right, look, you're going to play it. So you've still got the same image, but it's just all fitted on screen. And I thought it looks actually all right. The backgrounds were pretty good in this version. So the backdrop's better. The sprites are a league apart. It's just incredibly, they're really good sprites. High res, well animated. They look good. They move all right. Very nice. The enemy AI in this version is not infallible. I was able to get quite far into it, admittedly, on novice. But that's what you should be able to, not have it just beat the crap out of you. I got pretty far. Incredible, it's the same thing, same levels, same number of levels, same fighters. You go through it. The second fighter is this ninja guy where they can throw shurikens at you, but you can just take him out. Handily, you can just, the old leg sweep move is the winner. You can just leg sweep him. But, at least you can do that. In the EU version, you just didn't hit anything. The difference between these two versions is night and day. The UI is better. It's at the bottom of the screen. It has a proper font, and the health bars are on either side. So everything's where it should be. It feels like a proper fighting game, whereas the other one feels like somebody's described it to you and just gone, oh, this is what it's supposed to be. The second level is the train yard. That looks good as well. And I found myself quite enjoying this version. It's not the best beat 'em up on the 64. No, it's not. It reminded me a little bit of Yi Kung Fu, the conversion of that, sort of in looks of that high-res sprite style and things, so that kind of style. But I did like it. It was pretty good, which is more than can be said of the awful EU version, which is a pox. So it shows that a semi-decent version of Street Fighter was more than possible on the machine, and also shows what horror we had to put up with over here. I mean, I can only assume that Capcom must have wished they could have done a proper Hadouken at Go Software for their travesty of a conversion, because that America one, if you're going to play either version and come from this, go check out that US version. It's way better. It's not perfect, but it's much, much better and more enjoyable than the awful European version. There you go. It got what did it get in score wise? So you got 36%. Yeah, probably, maybe even less for me. But there you go. What do you think?
I thought the UK version. I mean, what a blocky mess that is, isn't it? Straight from the world where we've already got where the Exploding Fist, Fist 2, Tournament, IK, and IK Plus. So that must have come from a world where they don't exist.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
It's just absolutely dreadful on the eye, ear, and pocket at a tenner. Awful, blocky characters that bear no resemblance to anything I know of Street Fighter. I mean, I get it. It's the Commodore 64, and porting this game to that is just stupid anyway. So my advice would have just been don't do that. Unless you plan on creating something like where the Exploding Fist, it's going to be rubbish, isn't it? Guess what? It is. Background detail is... In the UK one, I'm not even sure I described that. Not good. Mm-hmm. It looks like it's made from bad character graphics at best. The players are a blocky, massive, fidgeting pixels that periodically assume a human form. Their skin tone seems to blend in with the background periodically, so there is no sense of impact, purpose, or moving ambition. It's just bloody awful in every possible way. Absolute garbage. And it's multi-load as well? Nah, no way. UK version, no thanks. The EU version, whichever it is. The US version, immediately better title screen and graphics on the intro. Game looks the part as per the title screen with the right logo. Music is weird but passable. Sprites are way better drawn and defined properly, as are the backgrounds. They look like game characters, and yes, they're a little bit smaller, and the animation is still not great, but it's head and shoulders over that UK garbage. The fighting suffers from the same problems, as far as I was concerned. I think because it's more akin to Yi Kung Fu than Street Fighter that I know of, but I've never really got into any of the Street Fighter games, so I don't know much more about how they play. However, that said, I couldn't do any moves that really had any tangible value in either of these versions, but at least I could see what they were attempting in the US version. They're just blocky splodge number 3 or whatever that might be.
Yeah.
I don't rate either of these as decent fighting games, but the US one is at least way better than the UK one, so make of that what you will. But I wouldn't have given this 36%. I'd have given this in the low 10s. It is utterly, utterly stupid and rubbish.
It is.
The US version it's like looking at a different thing. In fact, it's like looking at the UK version if someone put their glasses on. It was, had really bad eyesight.
Yeah, it's good. That's a good comparison. The weird thing is how they ballsed up Bionic Commando last time, the other week, and they've managed to make the better Street, and now it's gone the other way round. So very, very weird. You can have one but not the other. Pick one, which way you want. But yeah, there we go. Street Fighter. Isn't there a port of Street Fighter 2 coming up? I'm sure there is.
Yeah,
I think there is.
Will be,
I imagine that's going to be awful, but maybe there isn't. I don't know. Maybe there is.
The loading screen, by the way, did make me laugh for the UK one with his smell my cheese. So.
Proper smell my cheese. Well, that's the thing. Even the I posted the covers. The British one, the one on the left, looks rubbish. It's just like He's got this big brown, dark brown jacket on, which is weirdly reminiscent of Ryu in Shenmue because he has a brown leather jacket. But he's up against a gang of street toughs, which is not the
Looks
game.
like Final Fight, that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Final
Whereas
Fight.
the American one on the right is actually quite atmospheric.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Just a sort of character silhouetted against the sort of smoke behind him. That's really quite cool. But yeah, the the loading screen is a proper smell my cheese moment.
It is, yeah. It's not good.
Yeah, it's a better loading screen than our next game. Anyway, let's move into that. More fighting, more warriors. This time though, Dream Warriors. Tell us about Dream Warrior, Graham.
This game. This stupid game. The tagline for this game is "You don't die, you just wake up," and that's what you'd be praying for as soon as it loads. Trust me on that.
Yep.
Oh god, this stupid game. This is published by US Gold. Strange enough, it's oddly a US Gold game that isn't a license of some kind. So make of that what you will. Coded by Colin Reed, graphics by Stefan Ufanowski, and the musician is Anthony Lee. It's not a bad team of people that put behind it. But we're going to dive into the world of this game now, and I'm going to pre-warn you a little bit here that what we're about to go through, you may not feel the same way about the world after we've finished with this. Okay, so just bear with me. Okay. Bear in mind that the main enemy in this game looks like a combination of a double-beaked chicken with two heads converted into a worm. But let's just park that for a moment. So, the focus. The world of the future knows no physical wars, only dream wars. God's sake. They are just as lethal. Victims lose their minds instead of their lives, which is worse. Or actually, which is worse? No, actually, it's a question. Which is worse? I think losing your life is worse than losing your mind, but okay.
Yeah, probably.
World power is no longer held by governments. Instead, mega corporations decide world fate. They, in turn, are controlled by the Focus. Not the Ford Focus, though they are a very good economical family car. Not that. The Focus Fellowship has total control over their own corporation. Little is known of their activities, except that they have the collective ability to focus demons from the dark side into dreams of any unfortunate who gets in their way. So when they say little is known, you actually mean quite a lot, really, because that sounds like a very deep, dark secret thing that they would possess, and you know that anyway. Now that the world power is theirs, all right, the competition between the differing Focus Fellowships has become intense. They all want to be master focus. They all want absolute power. Meanwhile, the world is slowly going insane, as we slowly go through this.
Took me ages to read this. Ages. Way longer than the words that were written.
So stupid. Resistance groups still exist. And whilst the Focus was busy fighting amongst itself, 4 astral scientists known as the Ass Men, that's what they are, made a breakthrough in human dream control. They secretly conducted an experiment using pulsar neutrons and successfully found a way to combat the Focus's most powerful weapon, the Dream Demon. Right. Their success was short-lived. 3 of the Ass Men were discovered and are now suffering the torment of Ocular, the greatest dream demon of them all.
Is that like?
Don't want to know.
Is it the eye?
I don't know. It sounds very painful. It sounds very painful, and you may need ointment.
And a glove with one finger.
Enter the dreams of your colleagues. Find and destroy the Ocular, the 6-eyed monster who is sending your friends and the world's hope into the maelstrom of insanity. You only have one chance. Once you leave their dreams, the Focus will find you. You are the 4th Ass Man. Yeah, exactly. You are the Dream Warrior.
So you're the 4th Ass Man.
I'm going to read the little extended bits because you have to. Ocular has linked the dreams of the trapped Ass Men and imprisoned their psychic images.
Stop saying Ass Man.
That's what they are. 2 of them are trapped within separate blocks of the offices of Megabook Incorporated. The third, and this is where it gets really weird.
Megabook.
Third is within the world of the Worm, a planetoid 2-headed snake. Demi-demons roam through all dreams. Ocular himself hides in wait within his own blackness. Within one of the dreams, there is a black hole, the doorway into the realm of Ocular. This is the entrance to the final battle and can only be gained when the psychic images of the 3 dreamers have been recaptured from Ocular's demi-demons. Once this realm is entered, there is no going back. Each of Ocular's 6 eyes must be blasted shut before the demon and the power sources for the Focus is finally destroyed. If you wake up, the dream is over. I'm like, as I'm reading this, I'm like, what? you can tell that the insane amounts of cocaine that had been consumed during the construction of this were really kicking in at this point. It was going wild. I'm going to have to, and I wouldn't normally go into so much depth with these, but I have to for this because there are parts of this that need explaining, and this is the only way. So it's in a section called The Game, it describes the Dream Hopper. Access to the dreams is via a Dream Hopper. You will materialize from this at the start of the game. It can be used to jump from dream to dream at any time, provided there is sufficient hopper energy. If not, you will dematerialize, lose all the hopper energy stored, and immediately return to the same dream. The hopper is activated automatically when you move beneath the 3 hopper balls. Images of the dreamers will then be shown in the dash panel. When the dreamer you require is displayed, press 5 to enter his or her dream. A dream jump discharges all the hopper's energy and must be recharged before it can be used again. Hopper energy is indicated on the lower right of the dash panel. I'm not going to go into any more of the various different psi globes and the world of the giant demons that materialize and the soul snatched bombs and the bonus score and the bonus image character or the worm planetoid. Because at that point is when the worm's head transforms into a sloop. I'm not making any of that. You go and read the instructions for that. We'll post them with the show notes. Feel free to enjoy that. I didn't, but feel free to enjoy that. Right, the game then. All right, and this. I mean, honestly, and that's just the instructions. I mean, goodness, this is a classic example of too much bloody game story and not enough bloody game. Here we have Dream Warrior, a side-scrolling run and gun and seek. You know the type of thing by now. We've played hundreds of these. You control the last ass man. Diving in and out of your friend's dreams, looking to kill a 6-eyed monster called Ocular, or a 6-eyed Ocular. I don't know. The game sees you first being presented with the loading screen, which looks oddly like an image of a young Gary Barlow from Early Take That, or as you pointed out, Ivan Drago in grey.
He must break you.
He must break you. Anyway, from there to the title screen, and the raster bars are so strong in that screen. It's like raster crazy. Decent music for Anthony Lee's, I suppose. And then the game starts with a tap of the fire button, and then you're into this crazy, crazy world. With your joystick, you control your ass man, running around the pseudo 3D background, shooting dream baddies and finding side globes and collecting various coloured pods that do different things. Some build up the dream image of your colleagues so you can enter their dreams. Some will fill up your dream hopper, which is your dream conduit. Some will give you special safe access cards. Weird. And some will give you lift access on certain levels. That's the best way I can describe the nonsense. That's the best way I can describe it. Essentially, you need to collect them to navigate around and find the Ocular in each of these 3 dreams your colleagues are trapped in. Although they just seem to turn up and disappear, and I don't know. 2 of the Assmen are trapped in, like I said, in the Megabox office. The other one, inexplicably, in the world of the worm, which is this planetoid humanoid snake. I'm like, what? What? Just for reasons, your character's dressed like a biker in green leathers. Or an 8-bit look of a Master Chief from Halo, maybe. I don't know. Either way,
maybe.
It's more of a green space biker than a Dream Warrior Assman, I would say. The game window is split into 2. The top half is the game space, where your Assman runs around in the pseudo 3D kind of way, similar to those early Ultimate style games, so 2D scrolling but with added depth. At the bottom is the UI styled like a dashboard that indicates your score, your sleep depth, I'll come to in a bit, the space where the image of your colleagues will gradually fill in and complete as you collect the psi globes, that sort of thing. So you've got this kind of indicator, and then there's also, as I said, there's now the hopper energy level as well in there. The background of the game changes for the levels, with level 1 kind of having a blue shaded vibe, and then later it changes to an orange one, I think. And then later down the line, you're on a giant snake. Honestly, just in all fairness, the graphics actually are okay. I mean, as much as I don't like the game at all, the graphics aren't terribly badly drawn, and the sprites are okay for what they are. They're just completely out of place in this game. With the limited colours that are available, they're used reasonably well, and it gives it a decent sense of environment. Embedded in the walls are the lift doors, the sleep safes, the floor pads, all of which cost you various orbs, and all of which are there to help you get to the Ocular in each level and close its eye. So you run, you shoot, and you interact with things awkwardly. The sound effects, while somewhat obvious in nature, so pew-pew kind of thing, are okay in the sense of this game, I suppose. If you wake up in the game, the dream is over. Not that that ever happens. I don't quite know what that statement even means in relation. I think if you die.
Yeah,
so as you collect as you collect the right orbs, an image appears, and then you must have enough pods to use the hopper to jump into the next level. It's not immediately obvious that this is the case. It sort of isn't immediately obvious how anything works in this game. It has a weird feeling of something like V, and that ain't ever good. Ain't never
No,
good.
it's not.
Wandering left and right, trying to get through doors. You spend a lot of the time, in fact, in this game running around. In fact, that's all you'll be doing, really. You'll also encounter doors and a stupid system of opening them will see you collecting blobs on the floor and getting angry a lot. Because they will just close and you're like, oh, why did that close then? Sometimes they open, sometimes they don't. Doesn't really matter. And they're not there for any real purpose other than to just slow you down, I think. Because they don't serve a purpose in the game.
No, they don't.
The game sees you under constant attack and gradually working through the same thing over and over and over again until you find yourself on the worm level. Then you have to shoot the worm, and that is not a euphemism. It's a hard game to like this, really. On the one hand, it kind of looks pretty nice, and there's some okay graphics. It's not buggy as such, and there's some nice scrolling effects and production. That part, okay. But the logic of the game, well, which it isn't really that far from Whizball in a way, in the sense that you're collecting little colour blobs, and those colour blobs have a attributable value to things. But it's all lost in this weird dream world game design that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. I mean, there's the goal, I guess, for this, and there's a way to get to that goal, but hoppers, cyglobes, worms, dreams, what that are on planets, it's not clear what this is about, and it's not clear what the links are between those things. And the look of the game doesn't look anything like that at all. No. If anything, you look like a space fighter on an alien spaceship, which is, I suspect, what this game bloody well was at some point.
Yes.
So there's loads of doors in this game all over the place, doors and lifts, and if you got them in a game like this, make them open permanently. Don't just have opening and closing and arbitrary ways of picking things up to open them. It's stupid. And allow lift access in a way that makes sense. I don't know. For me, if this is meant to be in dreams, they're not wholly dreamlike. I mean, why would anyone dream of an elaborate spaceship with corridors and elaborate door locks and lifts with complex codes? That's not any dream. I mean, the last dream I can remember I had, I was trapped in a caravan, and strange things like that happen in dreams. I don't remember ever being on board a spaceship or anything like that. Anyway, it's 50% of a good game, and that's all the stuff that's wrapped in the good bit. But none of that is the playable part of this game. All of the graphics and assets of the game and all of those parts, if you took them out and laid them out on the floor, you'd be like, oh, that looks pretty good. Yeah, you could make a good game out of that. Somebody did, and they didn't make a good game out of it. They made this piece of crap. So it's a nonsense game wrapped in a load of mysterious garbage, which is a pity because I think with those assets, somebody could have actually made a good game out of it if they really thought about it. Maybe even an 8-bit Halo. But what did you think?
Yeah, no. I am the fourth ass man. Finally, someone recognises my achievements. That's what I've written.
Everyone's got to be something.
Do they not read this stuff to themselves when they write it? Do they not? Does someone not read it back? Ass man? Yeah, no, it's the as man.
No,
looks like
something
ass
tells me
man
that they were about 19 packs of wheat crunches in at this point during the munchies phase.
And on top of that, they made a game that reminded me of this. You know what this reminded me of? PSI Warrior 2.
Yeah, basically.
It's that sort of pseudo 3D running around shoot stuff nonsense that we had the problematic with there. And I've never wanted to be reminded of that again. Not ever. As you said, getting through those sort of floor lasers is stupid. 2 blobs on the floor have to be triggered. And you always run over the near one first. You have to go get the far one, and then it doesn't stay open long enough until you get near to it. And it only turns on just when where the near one comes back. Oh, my God.
Anger inducing.
Yeah, terrible. And on top of that, it's dull and repetitive. You're running, going along odd 3D environments. Yeah, you're right. They look okay. Scrolling is fine. They're just dull to navigate, though, aren't they? They're just dull. Title screen music is all right. It takes a turn for the atmospheric, I thought. And I did quite like it. That tune by good. Anthony Lee's. Some of it's all right. Aside from that, though, there's little here to hold the interest for very long. It's just boring. It's just really dull. How do you make this story about Assmen and Focus and Oculus and worm planets and stuff? Boring.
Why do you do that?
I don't know.
Why?
This ass man was put to sleep by this dream warrior. That's all I can think of. Awful. Just boring. 49% it's got. No. Maybe for the visual stuff, but I guess it's competently put together, but it's just a mishmash of nothing. And like you said, this V-type nonsense of red things to get health back and green things to open doors and pods and stuff shooting, and it's just yeah. I mean, it's a nice sort of sense of 3D in that you can run around the enemies and stuff and all that kind of stuff, and they're not terrible. But again, it suffers from that constantly spawning enemies. And what were those other monsters that just appeared for every now and again, just disappeared again?
Part of the dream world, I guess. I don't know. By that point, I'd given up hope.
Yeah. No, I didn't like Dream Warrior. Didn't like it at all. No, let's move along. To our next game in our 2-word title series, Street Fighter Dream Warrior. And now we have Dark Castle. And Sounds ominous. Oh, we played another game called that. Oh, it's Dark Tower, wasn't it?
Dark Tower, yeah.
Dark Castle must be seriously one of the most generic names for a game I could think of. Really is. Anyway, what is this? What is this? Well, it's a port of a 1986 Mac game. Who wanted that? What is this?
I don't think anyone.
Nobody wanted a port of a 1986 Mac game. This is before Mac's even got any games. Who wanted this? No one. Leave it on the Mac. Let them have the game and be happy. We don't need it. But it's got ported to everything, didn't it? It got ported to loads of stuff.
Oh, it's all over the place, like a rash. It won't go away. You need all the creams and the ointments aren't getting rid of that.
No, they're not. Anyway, over here, this was released by Mirrorsoft in the UK, and it was ported by Sculptured Software with visuals by Mimi Doggett. Mimi Doggett. She's usually quite good. I say usually.
Some of the visuals aren't bad.
You play Prince Duncan.
Good old Duncan.
Prince Duncan. And he has set out to slay the Black Knight, as they have been causing all kinds of shenanigans in the local village, and the local villagers are just too wimpy to put a stop to it themselves. So along comes Prince Duncan and says, I'll sort this out. But to do this, Duncan must visit the Black Knight's castle, the Dark Castle, and traverse, why is it not called Black Knight Castle? I don't know. And traverse the 4 areas of it that are called Fireball, Shield, Trouble, and Black Knight. Nobody names the castle areas after that. Are you in the Shield area? In the Fireball zone? No.
Trouble.
Nobody
Stay out
does
of trouble.
this. Yeah, stay out of trouble, stay in the Fireball. There are 14 screens for this. 14, a total of 14 screens for you to make your way through. There are 3 in Trouble, 4 in Fireball, 3 in Black Knight, and finally 4 in Shield. That sentence, right in that sentence, actually physically hurt me. It just, all the words are wrong.
Loading.
I've no idea who decided to name them that way or thought that this structure is a good idea. Mac owners, eh? Anyway, this game is multi-load. 3 sides of a disc for this. Three sides of a disc for 14 screens. I think there's about 14 title screens, so that's probably why. Seem to go through title screen after title screen, 3 discs. Those screens must be ace, eh? I can't wait to get to them. Anyway, when the game loads after a very long and slow loader, get used to that, and random disc swapping. Just disc swap after disc swap. Yeah. And how many title screens do we need? How many variants of the castle do we need to see? Too many. Too many. You get to choose from beginner, intermediate, or advanced. You can play it, you can quit it, you can watch a demo, or you can get some info on the monsters and backstory. Every choice is more loading. Just loading. So much loading. All the loading. I tried to get some info and the screens crashed on me, so I had to reload it. That didn't help. The sound on the title screen also crashed. So I'd read somewhere that there was loads of sort of sample sounds, but it just crashed. It just left a high-pitched whine. That didn't help. So once I got back in, I chose to play it. After more loading and disc swapping, I was greeted with the level select screen. So I haven't got to a game yet. It's just a level select screen. Where my character is stood before 4 doors. It's doing that thing. You know, when you walk past people, you see people in sort of American films where someone's trying to be cool and they walk past doing that 2-finger thing going, hey, 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 sort of pointing them. He's doing that, but there's no one there. So I don't know who he's doing it to. I don't know what's going on. Who's he saying hey to? Going, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? But it's like, what? To who are you doing this to? Stupid. And you select the which way to go by pressing 1, 2, 3, or 4. Why can't I use the joystick? What? There's a joystick. You just move, select it. Up, down, left, right, 4 directions. Anyway, select one of them and your adventure wanders off to the door and into the level. Runs off in a nice sort of 3D sprite way, I guess. Okay, yeah, all right. Then it's more loading, more disc swapping, and I was rapidly losing patience by this point. All this loading must be leading to screens of hitherto unseen amazing adventures. That's all I could think of. It's kept me going. No, they're not. When you finally get to a game level, you're greeted by a pretty horrible, almost monochromatic level. I tried 1, I think. Your character is tiny, the level is ugly. Bats and rubbish sprites wander about, and you have 4 lives to try and make your way through. You can wander about, jump, throw some of your rocks, and F7 picks up any of the randomly placed items that might appear. Contact with any creature loses 1 of your lives, and you have 4 of them. That's about it. So much loading for this. The controls are awkward and unintuitive. In the Mac version, you aim with the mouse. So you use keyboard to move about and jump sort of thing, and you aim with the mouse, you kind of got free aim. It's one of those. Here, obviously, we don't have a mouse, so what we've got to do, if you're standing still, and only if you're standing still, you can hold down the fire button, and then use up and down to move your arm sort of in an arc. You've got sort of 5 points, sort of down, diagonal, forward, up, or, diagonal up or up. And you can lob rocks in that direction. But to throw a rock, you have to then press in the direction you're facing and press fire. This all feels so. You got to let go and then it's all very unintuitive. I did not like it. It just felt awkward. Some monsters will be killed by you throwing the rocks at them, and some will be just knocked out and then they'll stand up. And the one at the bottom is bottom of trouble, which is always there. There's just some bloke walking around the bottom. I kept knocking him out, and then he kept standing back up and shooting me because he had a gun. Why has he got a gun in the dark castle? What is this? I think he had a gun or whatever he had. It's stupid.
Something like that.
It all feels really unwieldy. You just got to stop. And the problem was, time and time again, I thought I'd stop. I'd let go of the joystick, but the animation for the running would still be going. So I'd press fire because I'd let go. So I'd let go, press fire, he would jump. And I would just jump off the edge of the platform or into a monster or whatever. And I was like, no, I pressed fire because I want to start shooting. And I don't like this control system. It's just ugly and horrible. Why can't I just run, use up for jump, and press fire to throw rocks? No, just like sort of Antiriad did. It's the same control. It's the same abilities, and pull down when I'm on an object to pick it up. Why? Well, that works. Not here, though. No. I guess, going up and down stairs requires use of the diagonals at all times. So you can't you hook down it, sort of thing, start going down it by pulling bottom left. Then you have to keep bottom left. You can't just go left. It has to be bottom left. And if you want to go back up them, it's top right. It just feels awkward. I just want to use left and right once I'm going in that direction. You should know. This has been done again. I think even, Jet Set Willy did that. So it's just stupid. The animation on the main character, I guess, is okay. There's a lot of frames animation. Mimi Dog, it's only nice job there, but the rest of it, I thought looked really ugly. It just looks bitty. And why do I have a white outline around my sprite? I don't get it. That's just, I've not seen that before. I don't like it. The UI at the bottom, it shows your rocks. That sounds odd. It's just the number of rocks you have, number of lives, and your potion. But again, it looks ugly. It looks like it's been ported from the Mac. Just that it has this look of a Mac game. It's just not pleasant. It's an ugly, awkward game to play. There's so much loading and waiting around for such little reward that I was really quickly just jabbing the off switch and walking away from this one. I walked away. Couldn't handle it.
Good idea.
I did not care for this in the slightest.
I'd agree.
Yeah, he was. Just give me the loading. All we want is the loading. No, this should have just been left on the Mac. Just leave them with it. Leave them with the game. They're all right. We don't need it. We've got plenty of games. We certainly didn't need this one. Rubbish. It's got 41%. Nope, don't deserve that. What did you think?
Why did anyone want to do this one anyway? I remember this one on the C64 and the Amiga, strangely enough.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not in good ways at all. That sample of the pipe organ when it comes on at the beginning. It's horrible. No sample should be that shrill and offensive. It's like... I was like, oh, God's sake. God, honestly, I thought my fillings in my teeth fall out. It was horrible. It's like a blast to your face. And then there was the lightning and thunder. It sounded like an old man coughing up phlegm at night. Not nice, that.
Nope.
So no. This had the look and feel and general demeanour of a down port or a D port, or let's just call it what it is, a crap version of something. And it probably wasn't great to begin with, without a doubt.
Nope.
I mean, you start in the Great Hall, don't you? Choose your trouble and all that, choose the level. Just everything about this shouted, I need a bigger disk capacity and more memory. Everything shouted that, especially the loading times. Just horrible. I mean...
Yeah, I don't understand why. This could fit in 64K.
No,
some of the games we've seen.
I don't get it. I don't want it. It was just a stupidly badly optimized piece of garbage that had been just bodge ported, I think, in some weird way that I can't explain. I thought the graphics in the background, there was some nice little detail in some of the pixel artwork and the way they kind of presented. They looked like what they were, but they were very drab. And the main sprite was just this bleached out thing, wasn't it? And I'm like, I don't quite get where it all came from. I could sort of see how it might work on an early Mac or something, but no, this is just rubbish. So no. I got fed up with it very quickly. I mean, some of the physics on some of the little ropes and things like that there was little things that sort of you could see the germ of something kind of working, but not in multiple loads and all that garbage that goes with it. No, thanks. Just one load would have been fine. It doesn't need splitting into all these different sections and loading all these little component parts in, and that multi-load is so slow and so bad. It's not a strength of the C64 unless you're going to spend the time to put in some kind of speed loader in there and optimize the code and all the graphics so that if you're going to have multiple loads, you need to be, there's so many games out there that do that. Well, Epic's games have always had really fast loaders like Vorpal and stuff. It doesn't need to be this kind of dreary nonsense. So occasionally some hints of some sort of decent sprite pixel painting here and there. If someone had said, paint me a dungeon, you might have looked like that. But everything else, dull, drab, and it's an Amiga game plus and all of the rest of them anyway, really. It doesn't belong on the C64, and it clearly showed. I hated it, and I don't ever want to hear that pipe organ sample again because it sent me on edge. It put me on edge. I didn't like it. Don't like that. No, not what a nonsense. Rubbish. Up to rubbish.
Up to rubbish indeed. Yeah, that's Dark Castle. This is not a good half.
No,
It's really
it's
not.
not.
We've got one game left. Let's see if things pick up. Graham, it's time to break out the old luge, strap on the old skin-tight outfits, and tell us all about the game's Winter Edition.
So this is from Epic's 995, 76%. So an unusually low score for the Epic games of this type. So what's all that about? This is coded by Al Rubin, Carl May, Chuck Somerville, Edward Chu, Edwin Wright, Eric Knopp, Kevin Fuzzy Furry, Kevin Norman and Scott Nelson, graphics Jenny Martin, Matthew Sarconi, Muffy McCosh, Paul Vernon, Sherry Knowles, Cyril Knowles, Steve Snyder, Susie Green, musician Chris Gregg and Chris Ebert. So a lot of the people basically that did California games, principally they did a California games and stuff like that. So this is an Epic's returning, isn't it? To the, the California games team returning, Epic's team returning with an all new Winter Games variant. And in that classic games tradition, you have the option screen at the start, the sort of option screen. So, and it's the usual, for them, the usual thing. From this point, it sort of looks, the beginning sort of look like a classic Epic's game.
Yeah.
So you've got competing all the events, competing some, competing one, practice one, number of joysticks, which is interesting. See world records, opening ceremonies, closing ceremonies. So we've actually got a more complete set of stuff in there. All right. Fair enough. They're what we call the classic Epic's options. As you would expect, the opening and closing ceremonies are pretty good in the graphical way they are of these kind of things. The wider option set parameters for the play. So all good so far. Enter one of the game options and you'll be on the player selection screen where you can choose your country, name a number of players, of which there can be 8. And once you've made your selection, the events become available, and depending on how you've chosen to play them out will depend on how you choose to play them. There's been a slight up the ante on the country anthems. I noticed they were a little bit better than the old Discord and Epic's ones. I quite like those old ones now, but in their own way. So the events for this this game, you've got the luge, the cross country, figure skating, ski jump, slalom, speed skating, and downhill. So a heavy skiing component in this particular one, but there's a good reason for that. The events are different compared to Winter Games in the original Winter Games in both look, feel, and controls. So they are graphically neat with some lovely details, as you might expect. There's some really great use of animations, scene settings, and colours. The controls, well, they're not as intuitive as the other games, and that is a problem, but I'll come back to that. Now, without having to go into an in-depth description of every single one of these, because I'm not going to do that. A luge is a luge, and you can go and look it up in the instructions for this, but a luge is kind of like a toboggan race, essentially. The cross-country is kind of a similar to the cross-country, what was it called in the original games?
It's the biathlon.
It's the biathlon, but it's not got the shooting in this one or anything like that. It's just cross-country. So it's just walking on skis. Figure skating is figure skating. Remember, we had 2 types in the Winter Games. This has only got the one. There's ski jump back in this one. Slalom, which wasn't in the Winter Games originally, was it? There was a World Games that had slalom in it, but Winter Games didn't have it in, but it's in this one.
Yeah, we said it was
Speed
weird at the time
skating
that
in
there was
this.
missing the skiing event, did we, back for Winter Games?
Yeah, we did, yeah. And then you've got speed skating, which is in this one. That's in both, isn't it? Or is that in... Yeah, that's in both. And then you've got downhill, which again isn't in Winter Games in this way. And so each of those is basically, obviously, it's a Winter Games event. And it's told in that kind of... There's kind of sort of new ante on things with this. So I'll sort of explain what I mean by that. So obviously, you take part in each one of these events. You take it in turns. And obviously, it's a game where you're trying to get the best record scores and the best times and things and all that. That's all calculated for you. And then the person that does the best, there's a little medal ceremony after each of the events and bronze, silver, gold, and all that kind of thing. So that's this. It's one of those sort of Olympic type games where you play it with, get your mates around and have a go at this and play through the whole series of events. All good so far. Mm-hmm. Now, for the luge, you can choose from 4 different luge courses, which is an interesting development because generally speaking, this is the way they've added layers of difficulty into this. Now, there's an important distinction between the way difficulty is managed in the other types of Winter Epics, let's call them the earlier Epics games, and the way that it's set up in this and the sort of California games onwards. So in this, the difficulty is something that you can first off choose. So you can choose sort of how, and essentially the luge, I think they're basically 4 different lengths of course. I think so. It's 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, and 5. I can't remember. No, it's just 4 different luge courses, different lengths, I think, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And they're different, and they've got difficulty because obviously the bends in the luge are what you've got to try and time your joystick moves. So when you go around the bends, a bit like you did in the bobsleigh, that you don't go flying out the thing. And now, bear in mind, when I did this, by the way, I didn't touch the joystick and it just completed it in record time. So I didn't quite know what magic. That was really weird.
Yeah.
So that's how you play the luge, and you've got to sort of make it to the end of the track in the fastest time. Okay. Graphics on that section are pretty good, actually, the way it goes, but it's disconcerting the way it presents itself on the screen because suddenly you're going left, then right, then right, then left. It feels really disjointed. Mm-hmm. It's sort of, and in old-fashioned filmmaking language, it breaks the line. So
it really does, yeah.
So it sort of throws you off a bit. I'll come back to some of those issues. For the cross country, you've got that kind of classic Epix waggle, the sort of slow, methodical waggle, I guess, for your joystick. Mm-hmm. Which, depending on which track you choose, you could be doing that for a while because there's 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer, and 5 kilometer courses there. So it's just, again, you're choosing your challenge by process of how long you can put up with that for. And there's somebody waggling against you, and the graphics are quite nice on that view. They're a bit closer in. The graphics, again, some of the graphics are quite nice. It's lost some of its humor in this, but it seems to be a lot more technical, but that doesn't necessarily pay off. In something like that, there's less to do, so it just feels a bit grindy, that one. The figure skating is one where they've really made, I think, the most differences. You choose your music style, you pick from a series of moves. Those moves are kind of demoed, so you set up your sort of routine, and then you have to then perform that routine. It's really good graphics in that section. It's really cleverly, it looks really good the way the spotlight's on the characters. Genuinely looks amazing. It looks really good. It's just incredibly hard. I just kept falling over all the time. No matter what I did, I fell over on the knees. I don't know why. I could not. No matter how I followed the instructions for that, I could not make those moves do what I wanted them to do. And that's a bit of a theme. So, okay, we'll go from that one. The ski jump adopts a more first-person style, which is a really nice idea for that. So when you get a nice view of the top of the ski jump tower. And then you sort of start hurtling down, and then it goes to like a first-person view, and you're hurtling down, and you've got to press the fire button at the right time. But it is hit and miss whether you're going to do that. I cannot. It says that you get an indication as you're going down the track. I could not find what that indication was. It was just literally random luck, whether you took off or not. And if you did, I don't think there's anything you can do to land that apart from blind luck, because I could not get that ski jumper to land other than crash. I just couldn't. It just wouldn't do it, no matter what. And I was trying to follow the instructions and following it to the letter. It made no sense. It didn't. So it works nicely. Hard to control. Hard to make it do what you want. For the slalom, you choose your 4 different courses, and then you head down, and you have to obviously go between the flags. Only it's really hard to control. So it's just, you suddenly find yourself careering out of control as a snowball and tumbling down the slope. It's really, really stupid. Mm-hmm. So you don't have much fun with that. Speed skating, again, you choose your course, and then you get this really strange view where the course is represented around a central window that shows the animated players skating forwards towards you, and then around them is like the track, and you're represented on that as a dot that's going round it. So the dot goes round and round as you kind of do the controls for the ski, which is obviously waggling. I don't know. It takes the pressure off from facing and focuses on the technique. Is that the plan for that? Because you're in a race, so the exhilaration of the race comes from skating, and I think it would have been better left as it was. It doesn't work in that weird way. That view is really strange. From the front, skating towards you.
Yeah. No.
And I couldn't get it to work properly. I couldn't make it do what I wanted to do. Anyway, with the downhill, this is where, for me, I don't know what we're trying to do here. You have placed 4 cameras at points on the course, and then it goes to that FPS view similar to the ski jump, and you're scooting downhill. You've obviously got that, and it's pretty good in the way that it does it. It's kind of fast, and it's, it feels like it's, but then all of a sudden it just jumps to a camera view, and it's really disconcerting. It's like, hang on, and then it throws you completely out, and then after that, you just, you're not going to last very long. It's really, really, really weird. I don't know, the camera views that show you flying down the track, I don't get what the point of it is.
Nope.
It just doesn't feel like there's any point to that. And it's the same view for even the non-computer players, the CPU players have the same cameras. It's just really, I don't get it. Why would you need to do that? And I don't get it. I don't get why it's not part of an Olympic event, is it? They don't go to all the slalom skiers, right? Just where do you want your cameras? This doesn't happen.
Nope.
And so it just felt, at this point, I started to realize that these are options for the sake of having options, which is not the Epic's credo, as far as I was aware.
No.
So this has all the looks and options of a Epic's game. But as we discovered with California Games, they seem to miss the key part of what made those original games what they were. And I think for me, it's accessibility. That instant that pick up and play. You got the gist, and it wasn't hard to control, and it was quite simplified in that way. And it felt like you was part of an event. You was doing the thing very quickly. You're in, you're on, you can figure out the complexity of what you're doing very fast. You're going around the track in a bobsleigh super quick. Takes you 2 minutes to figure it out. The view is consistent. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to try and beat my time. Simple. It wasn't pick a track, then press the button to do go backwards and forwards in the right way, then go to the right, and then go up a lift, and then go suddenly you're facing left and you're going up, and then suddenly you're right, and it didn't make any sense. And that's replete in every single event in this. There's this complexity that they've wrapped in there that it's completely unnecessary to have. It didn't have that problem in the original ones, which made them able to get into and just get on with and have fun with. If you're focusing on trying to figure out how to control it all, you're missing the point of what made those games great. And that's what they've really focused on with this. They've just shifted the focus from the fun of those events to the nuances of the controls around them, which is not fun. That was never the fun part of Winter Games, ever. Nope. The fun part was enjoying some of the silly animations and just participating in those sports. They were fast, accessible. Even the loading here isn't very quick compared to the standard Epic stuff. It's just not. It's not right. So the controls are not ungainly in the original Epic's games. They are in here. The controls are not over complex and over option led in the original ones. They are here. They responded to how you needed to respond in the original ones. They don't do that here. In fact, half the time they don't respond. So that disconnect is really what drives this game to be nowhere near as good as any of the other Winter Games and Epic's games, and certainly not in the same realm as the Summer Games or anything like that, or World Games. It's an attempt to add a more skill basis to this, I think. But they've done it all wrong. They've got the core idea of what made these games great wrong. And because of that, this game really suffers. And now we saw the elements of that in California Games, and then in what was the one that came after that? California Games, and there was... No,
was the other one World Games and then California Games.
World Games,
California
Games. Yeah, World Games had the beginning... Yeah, World
things
Games
like the log rolling and stuff like that, which were...
Yeah.
And
so World Games had the hints. California Games came along with and then we had things like the Frisbee, and this is where they're starting to sort of show the signs of what. And then you've got this one, and there's even more of these to follow, where they've just missed the point. These games look amazing, but this isn't fun to play, and that, for this kind of Epic's game, is a tragedy. So all of those elements I've mentioned come at a cost, don't they? The cost, I'm afraid, is the fun. This game ain't no fun. Tragedy. What a tragedy. I didn't like it, and that's the first time I've ever had to say that about an Epic's game like this, and that really hurts. What about you?
Yeah, I completely agree. Oh, yeah, there's some pedigree here. I mean, you've checked back on some of the coders. They go all the way back. So one of them goes back to Summer Games. Some of them are Summer Games too. So there is some, I thought, okay, maybe, because I think there's barely any of those in California Games, maybe some in World, but I don't think there's any that went back to Summer Games. So I thought maybe some of the old magic might still be there. The old magic's still there. No, it's not. No, I don't know why the flags were sideways on the character input screen. they're upwards. They're sort of tall. They should be across. I don't know why it does that. That's pretty weird. It seems odd. It made me laugh that the guy. You really feel for that guy going up the stairs to light the flame in the opening ceremonies. He's like, there's so many stairs.
It's a lot of steps.
It just takes forever. And they got, I mean, think about it in the first ones, they just delayed that by, Impossible Mission guy just bouncing up them, just running up them and just doing it. It's really go over quick. But it's like, yeah, they understand. In, done, out. Some doves appear. Okay, yeah, let's go to the events. Luge, I didn't feel in control. I don't know. It's flick screen, luge. Who thought that was a good, what? Why is it not scrolling? Why is it just not like bobsleigh from Winter Games, which works, and as it's really sort of kinetic and fast and thrilling, even though it lasts about 23 seconds. But it's an action-packed 23 seconds. Cross country, I did 1 kilometer in 16 seconds. That's some going. I don't think it's possible to do that.
No,
that's faster than Usain Bolt.
That's some losing.
No, that was cross country.
That was ridiculous.
It was so short. You've done a kilometre. Well done. What? All right. Figure skating. I didn't understand it. I just didn't. I think trying to remember routine and the timing is just too much to do. Just let me do a skate. Ski jump. No, I couldn't take off. I couldn't do it. I couldn't. No. No matter where I pressed that fire button, just went tumbling off. A slalom. I fell over and turned into a snowball. Speed skating. Stop punishing me. I think I did at the most. I did seven steps before I fell over, and I had the rhythm. So it's left, right with the legs, but then fell over. Left, right, fell over. I don't know if I was doing something wrong. I don't know. Downhill, as you said, really confusing. Why does it keep switching to these camera views of me just flying over and doing stuff? And like, what am I doing? It's a downhill. Oh, it has all the hallmarks of everything we didn't like about California games ramped up. All the elements that we, highlighted there that we thought they've lost the sort of coherency. They've lost the insight to what made them. That has just been focused on, and they've thought that's what we need to do, and they've just missed the point completely. Just give me winter games any day of the week. Winter games is so far ahead of this in every way. It's more playable. We had criticisms of that at the time and stuff like that, but in comparison to this, it's so much better. And yeah, like you said, there's far too much disc swapping in this as well. It's all over the place.
Horrible.
Plus insert B. This what is it? 6 discs? It's like Jesus Christ.
It's 3 discs, 6 sides.
6 sides. Insert side 4. Insert side 2. Why is this not structured better? If you're going to play through all in a certain order, fair enough if I pick the order. But if you're going to give them to me in an order, then that order should be 1, 2, 3, 4, and minimum. Put them all in. It's just no. Massive disappointment. I think 76% is generous, way too generous. There's some nice graphics, there's some nice character touches, there's some nice bits and bobs, and some stuff. But on the whole, none of the events felt like I was in control. I could get a hang of them. Tried them all a few times, but I just couldn't get through them. And then the loading just put me off going back to it. It just was unpleasant. I didn't like this at all. I remember not particularly liking this, and I think I liked the game Summer Edition even less. I think back then, these are one of the few I did try because obviously I was a huge Summer Games fan, Summer Games 2, Winter Games, World Games, massive fan. I thought, oh, great, more of this, but no. Disappointing, hugely disappointing. I don't know what else to say, really. Just not good. Not a good game. Shame. What a disappointment. Tragic. What a tragedy. Yeah.
Tragedy.
And there we go. This has been a proper downer of an episode. This feels like
it's a bit. It's
like, what's good. All right. So what have we looked like? What have we looked at today? We started off with it shouldn't have been a gold medal, but probably a sizzler Hawkeye. We looked at the problematic Vixen with it, added sexism thrown in for good measure. We looked at the even more problematic Super Trolley.
Yeah, don't ever talk about that.
No, we looked at the highlight. I think probably the highlight for me, Poltergeist.
Yeah. One of the best in the list. Crazy that, but yeah, it is.
It's probably not the best.
That and Hawkeye, yeah.
That and Hawkeye, yeah. I'll give Hawkeye's good fun, but yeah, Poltergeist,
£2.
2 bi-scrolling shooters,
Yep.
Doing well. Good stuff. Then we looked at To Hell and Back. We wish it just go to hell.
Yeah.
Street Fighter, I didn't mind the US version. I didn't mind it. But it's not brilliant, but I didn't mind it. The UK version is just awful. Dream Warrior. And then Ass Men. Ass Men.
The ass men get stuck on a worm planet.
And I'm the 4th ass man.
Bet you are.
Give me some of that. And now I get you.
Absolutely.
Then we get the unwanted Mac port of Dark Castle with far too much loading. The last 2 games in this felt, I'm pretty sure I just spent...
an overload.
Yeah. Even on an emulator with what's warp mode engaged.
Yeah.
Still crazy.
So much loading.
And then finally, the game's Winter Edition, which was a massive disappointment. Well. I don't know what to say after all that lot.
Yeah, go and try Poltergeist and obviously Hawkeye and just enjoy them.
Yeah.
The rest, don't.
No.
Just leave them be.
No, don't. Yeah, we've got, obviously next week we've got our last lot of games from August. What we got coming up, we've got Dark Side.
Okay.
Slow 3D. Prepare yourself for Slow 3D.
Slow 3D ahead.
Metropolis, wherever that is. Chubby Gristle, which sounds unpleasant.
Probably is.
Marauder, who knows?
Is that a shoot 'em up, innit? Marauder?
Probably. Sounds like it should be. Oops. What's Oops? That sounds familiar. Why do I know Oops? Oops.
I don't know.
I think it's because it reminds me of Oh No. It's one of the, it's kind of a Aquanaut.
It's got an exclamation mark.
Yeah, exactly.
Aquanaut.
Aquanaut.
Is it Aquanaut? Aquanaut. Yeah, Aquanaut. Yeah.
It's Aquanaut, yeah. Crazy Paving.
Yeah. That doesn't sound good.
Oh, don't make a game out of crockery. Don't make a game out of crisps. Don't make a game out of pavement.
No.
God, the 3 commandments. Shackled. Finally, we're going to round it off with Bruce Lee.
Okay.
So at least we know that's all right.
That's going to be okay.
Yeah, at least we know. That's why I put it at the end. At least we know Bruce Lee's all right.
Yeah, at least we know Bruce Lee's all right.
and that'll be all right. And that's it then. That's it for August. And then what's that, 98? And we've got 2 more episodes, and then we're at episode 100.
That's it.
Uh-huh. Who knew? That was a tough episode. That was a tough lot of games to get through. I was depressed really playing that
It
one.
was.
I don't know what to say. I don't know. Have you got anything else you want to add?
I'm still grieving about Winter Winter Edition or whatever it is. I'm grieving.
Yeah.
I really wanted it to be better, and it's like just being let down by something that you really know has been such a great thing. It's like,
I know. I was grieving over having to play a 1986 Mac game.
Yeah, that's so bad, that Dark Castle. I never want to think about that sample again. It's horrible.
And I never want to think about To Hell and Back either.
Well, that version of it I just did is actually more is that their sample sounds worse than I've just done, and that's saying something.
Jesus,
bad. It's bad.
I'm quite glad then that mine just crashed and just gave me a whine. I was just going.
Yeah, I'll find a way of working it into the podcast. I'll see if I can find it so everyone can experience the horror of that.
I think they should. I'm sure you can grab a sample of that and put it in.
Oh, I can get that from somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think we call it a day. I think that's it. I can't take any more of this nonsense. It's just rubbish. We'll be back next week. As I said, we've got those 9 more games. We'll be playing through them. We'll also be looking at TV and video, TV and film. Sorry, what was going on? I don't even know what there was. Was it any good?
Rambo 3, Beetlejuice. What
films we got?
Films.
Rambo, Presidio, School Days.
Yeah, Rambo.
Do you reckon that's based on the game?
No. Probably not.
Probably not. Okay, so we've got them to look forward to. Yeah, so we'll be back next week. I'm going to sign off because I feel drained. I really do. This was a tough week. So as ever, I have been Adrian Mills.
And I've been Graham Raddings.
And you have been listening to the 4th Ass Men. And we will see you again next week. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zap 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zapped to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zappedtothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZapTother, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zap to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zap to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings, and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap 64 magazine, the Zap to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.